What's up, everybody? This is Logan Hanks with the Living Fully Loaded podcast. I've got a really awesome episode for you guys. This is one of my favorite people. If you've been listening for a while, she actually came on. It was last April. I was looking today. You were on the show back in April. It was episode 51, and this will be episode 93. So we've come a ways since there. But that is Miss Nikki Selby. Nikki, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
It's like I said, you're one of my favorite people because I appreciate people that will speak their mind. And you never know nowadays if somebody's being real or not. There's so many, I feel like, posers. So whenever I come across somebody that is real and genuine, and I can tell that, I always appreciate them a lot. And you are definitely one of those people. So stoked to get you back on. For sure. And real quick, before we jump in, everybody go check out Riton Optics. They're doing some awesome stuff over there, veteran-owned company. They're in Tucson, Arizona, so go check them out. I've got quite a few of their scopes. They've also got a podcast that's really great. I can give them a big shout out. I was like their first episode on season 2, so go check that one out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we appreciate it. So, Nikki, we're going to bypass the general questions because you've already done those. Besides that, then what have you been up to? What's new with you?
Well, first of all, let's talk about these optics because I was looking at their stuff and I bought a new rifle, the 6-hour cross, because I have my 6.5 Creedmoor, but the ammo, I can't find any ammo for that stupid thing. So, I bought the SIG and then I had a Vortex and so I transferred that over, but I still need an optics on my 6.5 for when I do find ammo because I love shooting it. But I was looking at those optics.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of interested. So you have them on your rifles.
Yes. Well, now this one wouldn't do you any good on the long range stuff, but that's one of their red dots. And I'm terrible. I need to look at what it's called, but it might be it's an X3. I really like that. But then I've got the X1 Conquer on an AR-10. But the X7 Conquer would probably be, I don't know what your...
Yeah, I was checking that out and I was like, wow, their prices are actually really decent. So, I know a few of you guys have it on your stuff. So I was like, let me check them out. So anyway,
well, sorry. That's what I just saw. No, you're good. You're good. And I actually recently saw where Terry Hooen just put one on, I guess, one of his ARs. And that's what, if Terry's running it, then I'm really like, okay, this is pretty good. I'm just a farm boy, but Terry's a freaking legit sniper. So if he's good with it, then I'm good with it. But, the X7 Conquer would probably be a really good one. And yeah, like I said, the prices are, you could probably get one of those for like $1,200. Are they?
Yeah, I think
right.
So. Yeah. I think that one was like 11 or something like that. So yeah. I think
that's pretty solid. Yeah. Now the SIG, is it a 308?
Yes. So they have it in 6.5 Creedmoor and it's the Cross, their new rifle that they have out. It's really cool. It's pretty light. So it's kind of, for long range shooting, you want some, a little bit heavier, but I like how it's light, especially if I'm going to use it for hunting or anything like that, where you have to carry it. The stock, it folds down. So it's, you can fold it, put it in your backpack. It's, I don't know. I really like it. And then again, the 308 is much easier to find and you can use the 7.62 by 51. So, just been, because I have this Vortex sniper comp coming up in a couple of weeks.
I know. Yeah, I want to dive into that here when we get rolling. I've got that kind of note in there to talk about that, but you've piqued my geeked out stuff now. On that cross, I think I even asked you about it because it's short. Is it a 20-inch barrel? Or is it even shorter than that?
60, yeah.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your 6.5?
Oh gosh, you really. So it's the Tika. The barrel length, I'm actually not. It's a lot longer for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure the exact number on it, but I mean, I was shooting the other day and I'm able to hit eight. I think it's 875 is the longest target on the range that I was at, and so with the SIG, I was able to hit that no problem. Um,
Really?
I think for the comp, I mean, it shouldn't. I don't think it can go out past 1,000, so I should be okay. I'm decent
Yeah.
when I have time and I can set up and I can shoot. I usually hit the mark every time. It's when they put that freaking buzzer timer and I'm just a mess. Like I don't know what happens. I'll have the whole game plan in my head and then that buzzer goes off and it's just my like everything just falls apart. So I don't know. That's kind of what I've been
That'd be
working on.
me.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then I get
Well,
all
I,
busy.
I get that.
I'm like, this isn't realistic at all. Like, why would I have to set up my whole tripod and put my rifle on there and, in under 2 minutes and put off 10 shots? Like, nobody would ever do that in real life. Sorry, getting all
So,
mad. And
so,
yeah, it's bad.
so then your accuracy probably really drops then when you get mad, if you're like me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, it was the last competition I did. There was like 4 stages that was all offhanded shooting. I was just like, I can barely do all this shit with my good hand. So it's, and again, once I'm set up, but the problem is I, setting it all up gets me to where I only have maybe like 20 seconds to shoot all these different targets and these different ranges, and it's a disaster. But yeah.
Well, that's good though. That's good stuff though. I mean that's we don't have anything like that in my area. We've got a pretty big shooting range, which I mean I go out and typically shoot out in just the fields out here because I'm way over rifled. I just wanted this gun. It's something I've wanted forever, but I bought a 338 Lapua. I don't know, like a month ago. I love guns, and that's one of the ones I didn't have. I've got some 308 6.5s, and now my last one I need is a 50 Barrett, but that one's way up there on the price range, so I don't know when that one will ever happen. But
Yeah.
that 338, they're sweet. And I was really torn because I was basically always raised that you spend more on the optic than you do on the rifle.
Yes.
And that's never really been an issue for me until I bought this 338 Lapua. And I mean, it's a Ruger Precision, so it's not one of the like crazy, you can spend 5-10 grand on one of those easy. These, I think I'm getting in trouble if my wife listens on here, but they're like $2,300 rifles. But so the challenge for me then was like, how do I buy a scope that's more expensive than this rifle? I mean, they're out there. It just hurt my feelings, but I ended up getting a Night Force NX8, I believe is the one I put on there. And I got to say, it's thing's pretty nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are nice.
Well,
I know. It's like all of this stuff is so expensive. And then now with ammo prices just through the roof, I question my decisions every day on all of this.
Well, that's kind of what, when I bought this gun, I think one bullet, I was looking, one round on the match grade, like the Hornady match rounds for that is $6. It's $6 a bullet for that 338. So I have like 2 boxes of match grade ammo, and then I got some cheap, shitty ammo that I just have been kind of plinking around with it. But I hate to shoot the $6 round ammo.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the match is what I like for my 6.5, and so it's already hard to find the 6.5 Creedmoor, but to like find that particular brand is almost impossible, and it's like $2.50 to $3 a round, and as I'm learning all this stuff with long range, you want to shoot the same brand, the same grain, and that whole thing, and it's impossible almost these days. So, or you just have to have a ton of money or hookups or something. to know people.
Yeah, which I
So
have neither. I have none of
yeah,
those. Now,
me.
on that, was it as rewarding to you shooting the long range? Like, the farthest I've shot so far, because I'm kind of limited on. I have to like park my truck in a certain way where I can lay in the back of it, and I've got just a right angle to shoot. And I shot
Yeah,
700 yards with that 338, and it's something strangely rewarding to me about doping a rifle, and then that
yeah,
first shot after you made the big dope, it's on paper.
yeah. It is. It's great. I mean, the very first time I shot my Tika, the 6.5 Creedmoor, I had gone up to Tyler Hughes. He's pretty well known in the long range community, but he has an academy up in Victorville area. And I went up there for instruction, and I mean, he had me shooting a mile within the first day. So
Wow.
it's that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. But
What kind of scope do you shoot at? Explain that to me real quick. Like, I'm all right. I've never shot. I mean, 700 is your farthest I've shot. How do
yeah.
you see something a mile away? I mean, are you running crazy high mag? And I mean, what are you doing on that?
I mean, it's your optics you can see out that far. And then you have, a spotter, like he was spotting for me and let off a shot, and then he can tell me, because I can't I have a hard time seeing where my round goes afterwards. I get
Yeah.
yelled at a lot about that. Where did it go? So I always have a spotter, and he was telling me, like, he was giving me wind calls and that type of thing. But he actually has targets that when you hit, they light up, so you can see when you hit
Okay.
the target.
Yeah.
But you can see the target if your optics are good. So, because like when I shoot out 875 at this range, it's no problem, and I don't even have it, the
Yeah.
magnification all the way in, so it's not bad.
And what you're running? What are you running? A razor or something on there?
Yeah, I have the Razor HD Vortex, so it's really nice, very clear. When I started, so it's funny you say that about the optics versus the rifle, because I didn't know. I literally like called up a gun company in Texas and was like, I knew somebody with the Tika. So I was like, I want this rifle. And they're like, okay. And I said, well, I think I need some optics. And, the last person you want to ask is the guy behind the counter, because most likely he doesn't shoot long range. And he's like, oh, well, I think this is good. And I'm like, okay. Because I was like, well, I wanted to stay around $600 or $700, not knowing that you should be spending more on the optics. So I think my Tika was like 1,900, and then so I should have reversed that, but and see this optic, and it's pretty, because I was like, I just want a basic reticle, because I'm new, I don't know how to read any of this stuff, and realized quickly on my first day that you want all the little dots on there, because if you're holding for wind or whatever, I didn't have the dots that were outside the crosshairs, so I had to sort of just guess where I was holding, and for elevation or for wind. So and then it was an MOA, which I didn't obviously know there was a difference with MOA and RAD. So just trying to, which is good now, because now I can somewhat shoot with both. But it was a hot mess. So, and it's so people will be like, they're like, why don't you ask? I have all these people that I follow that I know that are into it. But I tried to ask people, and I found also that rifles, long range optics, this is all like very personal preference, because I would get, people would respond back to me with like, oh, you got blah, 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 blah. And this, and like, because I didn't know what the hell they were talking about, I was just like, I had like 50 different answers from these people. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. You might as well just be speaking a foreign language. So it was rough.
Well, it can be overwhelming on the optics side, like, because, you start looking into it, and then you're running into, the first focal plane, second focal plane. And then some people will be like, well, what the hell is that? And then you get in, like I said, mils or MOAs and all these different, and I mean, reticles, my gosh, it's like, 100,000 different reticles, it seems like, out there. And, And there is, I guess I went with the Night Force mainly because that gun. I mean, I've heard of Night Force. I've got several buddies that run them, and there is kind of a part of me that was just like, man, these are so badass. I just want a Night Force optic. But like on the other side, this gun has a muzzle brake that's like 5 inches long. It looks like something off of a tank. So, I mean, it's got a crazy muzzle brake, which makes the recoil really hard on a scope because it like moves the rifle in a different way. And so I wanted something that could handle. I mean, I could take that scope off if I ever bought a 50 cal and chunk it on a 50 and it would be fine. So that was kind of my reason for it. And I just like trying different stuff. I mean, like I said, I like the Riton a lot. Like I said, running an AR-10. I've got several of their stuff. They're all really good. They've kind of replaced my Vortex. I had some, I was running one of the Diamondback or one of the cheaper Vortex on my AR-10, and I swapped it out with that Riton. But I just recently, I bought a Tikka T3 and I put a Trigicon, one of their scopes on there, and they're sharp. I don't know if you've used any of their like actual rifle scopes, not the red dots.
No, but I've heard good things about them. So yeah, so you got the T3, the T3X, or
it's the T3X Lite. Now it's actually for what I hope to go, if I go elk hunting and I don't take a bow, that's kind of my rifle I've got for that. And it kicks like, it kicks and is so loud. It's got a little brake on the end of it. It's a 300 Win Mag. And I took it deer hunting this past season because I was like, I've never killed anything with it. Well, I killed a coyote with it, I guess, but I was hunting and I was like, I need to kill something big with it before I take it out west or anything. And I shot 2 does back to back and my ears I didn't have any ear protection on. My ears rang for probably 2 hours after that.
Yeah. No, you got to wear, I learned that lesson the first time I started shooting again with Tyler. And I was so concentrated on my shot, I forgot to put I had foamies on. I forgot to put my foamies back in. And I shot that. I couldn't hear for and I swear, it's been ringing ever since. So, but for the next, it was like going to a loud concert, the night before when you wake up and you can't hear anything. Like it just immediately, I'm like, I can't hear it. He was trying to talk to me and I'm like, literally cannot hear you right now.
Did it have a brake on it? Do they have what you're running? Did this have a brake?
It does have, it came with a brake, and then I actually just bought a new one, and I don't remember what brand it is. I'd have to look at it again, but it was suggested from one of the instructors at the range, and it's made it a lot better. Like it doesn't move as much anymore because I used to shoot and it would just, and that's, with competition, you really need to stay on target because a lot of times it's multiple shots on the same target, and I would shoot it and it's like, just, it's all over the place. And I have to try to find this target again. And so, this newer one has definitely, it made a difference with the movement after I shoot it. But yeah, and these are all things that I'm learning, like muzzle brakes and, all of this stuff. I had no clue about any of this. And so it's just all a learning process as you go. And there's, and I've barely skimmed the surface. So there's just so much to learn with all of it, which is why I really like it too, because I like anything that, you constantly have to learn, you have to practice it to get better and that type of thing. So it's cool. It's fun. It's just very expensive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and once you get into any of the quality rifles, I feel like you kind of step into almost like a different price bracket. I mean, in the Tikkas are really, to me, they're special because they're not crazy priced, but they're really awesome rifles. Like that T3 that I got is a tack driver. I mean, and I say, versus like a Ruger American Predator where you can buy that rifle for $350. We're talking a $1,800, $1,900 rifle. So it's you do start to see a big difference. but it's can you run a can? Will they let you run cans in that competition, or is it not allowed?
I don't know, but I'm not allowed to have one because of my state.
Oh, you can't have any in California.
No.
Oh man, I know we
Yeah,
got to get you out of there. I
I know.
forget to say, Nikki. For those that don't know, she lives in
Oh,
California.
yes. Yes. So yeah,
Oh
I
man.
kind of got stuck
Well,
here because I, spent a lot of my time in the service here, and then it's just my kids go to school, so it's just yeah. And I actually live in a pretty conservative pocket of California, so it's nice, but you're still the whole state is just insane. So yeah.
that it's weird. I was actually talking to a woman that worked at our post office here recently, and she was fairly new here from California, and
Mhm.
that's what she was talking about. She said where they lived, everybody was as like hardcore to the right as we are here in West Tennessee,
Yeah.
and she was like, but you know, they just get dominated by the I guess the major cities in California
Mhm.
that are so liberal. She said we
Mhm.
just have no say. So
But
it sucks because
so I mean,
California has some really conservative area.
most of it is. Most of it is, and that's the thing, is
Yeah.
like, this is the problem. So, same with Washington State, if you go outside of Seattle, during the elections, all you saw was Trump Pence signs everywhere, which I was like, "Oh, wow," because I just thought the whole state was, liberal or whatever. Yeah, as soon
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
left that area, it's Trump Pence, Trump Pence. Same with California. So you have and that's it's like they need to, like, somehow section off these states better as far as votes are concerned, because you have 3 cities in California that are basically dictating the entire, states, which direction they're
Yeah.
going in. You have San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. And it's like you go outside of any of those cities and yeah, you have it's red everywhere. And the problem is too is you get all these people who just already like they give up because they're like, "Oh, it's a blue state, we're never going to change it." And so they don't even go vote. So it's like there's just
Yeah.
so many issues and it's like it's crazy when you go to these states and you see, you go outside of the cities and you see like what most people really do represent. And they're doing it to Texas, and I'm telling my Texas friends, I'm like, "They're going to turn you blue. They are going to the majors. They're doing what they did to every other blue state. They're going to the major
Yep.
cities. So you've already lost Austin. You're losing San Antonio. You're losing Houston, right? And they know this. Like they're going to these cities and they're, populating these cities and then they're going to win the vote of that state because that's what they've done. Arizona turned blue.
Yeah.
Phoenix. You know what I mean? Like, this is what they're doing, and, like, and I got my friends in text like, "Oh, it'll never it is happening. It's happening right now. Like, Austin is completely liberal. Houston's going that direction. Dallas, I mean, they're doing what they've done every other state, And it's like and people won't go vote because again in Texas, same thing. Same mentality. Oh, we've always been red, so we don't need to
Yep.
go out and vote. Yes, you do. These people are coming into your state, and that's what I don't get either. Right? Is they're leaving here for a reason, right? And it's mostly the politics, and it's
Yep.
the what they've done to the state, increase in taxes and gas and all this shit, right? And I don't get it. They take this mentality to these new states that they're leaving this stuff and they take it to the new states and they vote for the same shit and then they turn those states into what they just left. And it's like
Insanity.
I'm so I've really opened I mean I kind of already knew that, but like these last couple years have really opened my eyes to human behavior and how people think or don't think. I mean it's just
Oh, they're so dumb.
been so eye-opening and mind-blowing that how quickly people they just fall in line and then they're on their
Yep.
their phones and all the social media and they cannot like discern reality from what people are feeding them and telling them and they just it's nuts. It's like the Canadian thing that's going on in north, right? So this trucker
Yeah.
thing and the media has tried to spin and they've done a good job, I think, with the majority of people who still keep watching all this bullshit. But they're trying to spin them into this whole, they're violent protesters, or they're harassing citizens and all this stuff. And then if you go to actual, like, and this is why I don't watch the mainstream shit anymore, because I try to seek out pages on social media that are actually reporting, like videoing and reporting everything that's going on. And
Yeah.
it shows how peaceful they are. And they're making it a point to, no, we are staying peaceful because we know the media is trying to do this and trying to show that we're being violent to spin it so people, so we don't have the support. But you still have people that just want to, all the shit they're fed, they're just like, oh yeah, they're violent, like they're bad people. It's like they're literally fighting for your
what kills and what kills me too with that is, like I said, they're almost painting these people as violent, and then I think back to the actual violent protests that did happen, like here, that were mostly peaceful. That's what they kept saying, these mostly peaceful protests. Exactly. Meanwhile, like whole towns are getting like burned to the ground, and cars are getting blown up, and stores looted, because nothing strengthens the cause better than going and stealing flat screen TVs out of Walmart or any of these things. Like that really drives the cause when I see that. And so it's freaking, it is madness. And I've actually been telling people, I feel the same way. Texas is going to go blue. Like I feel like it's headed there. People are leaving California like crazy. And then, like you said, they're like, I got to get away from these politics, and they get away from the politics. And then the morons vote exactly the same damn way that they were over here. And it's like, dude, you have to use your brain for a little while and realize like that state got that way because people were voting that way. Like that's what, when y'all had the recall of Gavin Newsom, that revote or something, I was like, finally, some of these people are waking up, and they didn't. It's gets reelected again.
So I really honestly believe there is a lot of fraud going on there, because
really,
for instance, because everybody I knew was like, get rid of this guy. Like there's just, I'm like, there's no, and people were actually going to vote. Like I'm like, there's no way that dude legitimately beat that. There's no way. One of the things I'll say is people need to stop doing the mail-in stuff, because I really believe that they're somehow using the mail-in ballots, and they're able to, open them or figure out, what it is. And you saw it in the national election where they're freaking tossing them out. So people need to stop doing the mail-in voting. Two, I went to go vote, and I go in, I drive up into this. There's like a little clubhouse area near me. And I drive up and I see people going in, and I get out of my car, and I go in, and there's a guy at the door, and he says, oh, we're doing midday counting or something like that. So we're not letting anybody in. And I was like, well, I just watched like two people go in. And he's like, yeah, but they're not able to vote right now. So we're just not letting anybody in until the midday count is over. And it was like 4:00. And I'm like, midday count. And so I was like, okay. And I said, and I almost turned around and left. But then I was like, I looked at him and I said, well, how long does that take? And he was like, oh, just a few minutes. And I was like, okay, then I'll just stand here and wait till it's over. And he was like, oh, well, if you're going to wait, you can just go inside. And I was like, what in the world? And I'm like, okay. So I go inside, you have to fill out all the paperwork or whatever. By the time I was done with that, they were letting people vote again. So I was like, why would he even mention that? You know what I mean? Like, why would he even say anything like that? It was only a few minutes, whatever. I was talking to somebody else in my town who went to a different location, and he posted something about the midday election or midday counting thing, and then saying how it was bullshit. So I reached out to him. I'm like, what do you mean it's bullshit? And he was like, that's not a thing. He's like, I called the county clerk when his place said the same thing to him. And the county clerk was like, that's not like, there is no midday counting thing. Like, that's not even a thing. And so she was like, I'm on my way down there to see what the hell's going on. And I was like, it's not a thing. I was like, my place did the same thing. So yeah. And then,
so were they,
the vote that said that, their shit was already counted for and whatever. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I really believe that no way that was legitimate.
Well, I guess that dude was probably banking on you being like just leaving and missing your opportunity to vote.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I almost did. And I mean, I would have like tried to come back, but I almost did. But the way he made it sound was like, this is going to take a while or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it was only a few minutes is like, why would this guy even mention that?
Yeah.
Why would
Okay.
he
No.
block
So
people going in the door and mention that,
what do we do? I mean, what do we do the only thing I feel like, or one of the big things I feel like that's always in our favor as Americans is the fact that, we can go and vote and voice our opinions, as they say. But the national election, the integrity of it is, it's very questioned at this point. Like a lot of people don't know. And then, like I said, now, if that's happening on those, see, that to me, one of the bad things with that is that will turn away probably a lot of the conservative votes, because they're going to be like, at that point, they're like, well, what difference does it make? They're going to just cheat their way in anyways.
So, I mean, and that's the thing, is that people need to quit doing that. It's like, I know there are a lot of issues, but when you have that mentality, what's the point anyway? And a lot of people had that mentality before all this. Again, if they're in a blue state, well, what's my one vote going to do? Well, every vote counts, right? So even if there is something, one, like I said, is don't do the mail-in ballot, go in person. And you got to go, like, regardless, you just have to go. And it's like, yeah, it could be fraudulent, whatever, our hope obviously is that will start, people will start realizing it, or like there will be more investigations. I don't know. But, the point is staying home and doing nothing is definitely not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have to you got to get up and you got to go find, where to vote, and you got to go vote, and everybody needs to do this. Like, it's just like, I'm scared for my children, really. I'm really scared.
No, I am too. I mean, I've got my kids will actually turn 4 tomorrow, my twins, and that's how I am. I look at the same thing. And I guess the way that I look at it, because Tennessee, I've always told people I'll be more concerned if Tennessee goes blue than I would Texas, because like you said, Texas it's really rolling around like that. Tennessee, we've got Nashville, Memphis, and there's like one other county that are all blue. And there's guys that I used to work with that they were like, it don't matter if we vote because it's going to go red. They're like, we're solid. We don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, man, I would rather here's what I wish would happen. Like, if there's fraudulent voting going on, man, I want enough red voters to show up that it just overwhelms them to the point of like, they can't even, there's no way they can like make it look like this didn't happen.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. If everybody shows up and votes, then it's going to be even more questionable if it doesn't, go that way. But Tennessee, you guys need to worry.
Yep.
There are actual Facebook groups of Californians leaving to go to Tennessee. And it's the whole like relocation to Tennessee groups. They're moved there.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Infiltrating all of your states. And I'm telling you right now, if these people have this attitude of it's not gonna, like, we're gonna stay red, you are going to like California used to be red. California was a red state. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, y'all are losing it.
Hey, it ain't me. I'm going. I vote. That's what I vote. Like, it was kind of funny. Justin Timberlake he grew up like 20 minutes from where I live, or was born there. And I saw where he flew back here to vote for, oh hell, I can't remember. It might have been Hillary Clinton or whatever. It was because he's a big Democrat. No, it hurts me. I'm like, man, he has left his West Tennessee. He maybe never even had the Tennessee political views, but
Yeah.
He flew all the way back here, and I was like, well, I canceled your vote out. Like, I ain't got to worry about that one. But
Yeah.
I mean, people are, I don't know. I get it to a degree. I get where people feel like, I get how they can say what difference does it make, because it does look like, I don't understand how a guy like Joe Biden supposedly got more votes than any other president like in history. I mean, the guy is, if I didn't call him a dumbass, I would say the guy has dementia. Like, I mean, there's
Oh,
something
for
going
sure.
on with this guy.
No, I think he's had several strokes, to be honest with you, and I think it's affected his you know ability to think straight and act straight. And but and I've always, I'm watching all this stuff with like Canada and Justin Trudeau and all this stuff, and I'm like, people are like getting mad at these guys, right? And my thing is that they are not in control. They are
Yeah.
puppets for the hand that's feeding them. That's like, the people behind the scenes are the ones who are controlling them. These people are just doing what they're told to do. Like, they have no say over any of this shit, which is sad, right? But I've
Yeah.
said that, you know, one, it's criminal that it costs so much to campaign for presidency, because you're eliminate there, and everyone says, oh, like, we couldn't find better candidates than, Trump and Biden. And it's like, no, yeah, there are plenty of better candidates. They can't
Yeah.
afford to do it, you know? So it's like, yes, if I'm
Yeah.
asking you, hey, Logan, I'm going to go run for whatever president, I need 5 million, whatever millions of dollars it costs, right? And you have this money, and you're like, oh yeah, let me give this to you so you can go campaign for this seat. Do you think you're
Yeah.
doing that out of the kindness of your heart? And like, when you win, you just do whatever you want. No, you're gonna be like, all right, now that you won, this is what I need. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So like,
They own
why
you.
people don't understand this shit? I don't know. I'm like, it's I'm not the smartest person in the world, but it's so freaking obvious to me that there's no way they have any control or say or anything. They are owned by these people, you know? So, and my
Who?
solution is, you cap the campaign funding. You cap
Yeah.
that campaign funding, and all their what I would say is, set up, you know, like, have 5 or 10 locations that this is where you're going to go. You're going to give your spiel. You're going to give your, kind of like high school. When you tried out for being president or vice president, whatever, what
Yeah.
did you do? You stood up on the auditorium and you stated your case in front of all these people. Have to like 10 different locations that people go to. Media will only go to these locations to film you. All the candidates will be there. Anybody who's in the area can go there, and your campaign funding is really more for getting you to these locations, and that's it.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
And there's no advertisement, there's no campaign ads, nothing else. These are the 10 locations you're going to. You're going to state your case. It'll be on live TV. It's all covered. Every media outlet will be there. Anyone can watch it. Anyone can go to it. End of story. You can't run extra campaign ads. You can't do any of that stuff, that are biased towards you, and, trying to like get people turned against all these other people. Like, this is all your speech is going to be at these locations. Say whatever you need to say. That's it.
Yeah.
Let the people vote
I
for
agree.
who
And
they
I,
like.
well, what's it? That's what I've said kind of in a nutshell, is because what's it cost? Like, I think you can spend like $1 billion running for president now. Like,
It's
and I tell you,
community.
it is. It is. I mean, and that's like, I get a kick out of Bernie Sanders. All these people that they liked old Bernie, and
Yeah.
he got rich off of running for president. He got all this money, and I guess they just get to keep that, because he was buying like multiple houses afterwards. And I mean, of that dude, it wouldn't shock me if he didn't run for president again, just because he makes a load of cash every time he does it.
Yeah, and I mean, he's also, now he's rich, right? And he's self-funded. But I've said too, how come, if these Democrats were so concerned about their ideologies, why is it the one candidate that they have who could probably like beat every single Republican candidate in this day and age, why do they keep screwing him over? Right? So they screwed
Yeah.
Bernie over with Hillary. Then they screwed him over with Biden. Why do they keep doing that? Because he is rich now, and he has a mind of his own, right? So he's not going to go with the flow. He's not going to be controlled by he's freaking 80 years old. Like he's not going to have somebody telling him what to do. And they don't like that.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't like Trump, because they couldn't control him. This whole thing is a little
Yep.
tantrum because they couldn't control him. They do not want people they can't control. They want charismatic people like Trudeau, Obama, right? People like to listen to, people like to look at. And then they put them up
Yep.
in these positions, and it's do what I tell you to do. And they have total control. Because it's always a question of why aren't these like rich whatever running? Well, one, most of them are not very charismatic, right? You have to have that. You have to have somebody that people actually want to go and listen to and like, and that's why Obama was widely popular, right? He spoke very eloquently. People like to hear him speak, but he was that guy that could talk to you and tell you, everything you wanted to hear and you believed it. Because it's like, oh, it's it's Obama, or it's Justin
They're
Trudeau.
celebrities.
So like, it's that is all human nature, right? So they're not going to look at Trump is not the best looking dude, right? So he's very brash. He has no tact in the way he speaks, and it's like nobody wants to listen to him. So it doesn't matter if he's telling you the truth. People don't care about that. They want to be able to, but he speaks well, They hated all his tweets, right? But that's not very presidential. I don't give a fuck about what they're tweeting, what they're saying. Like, what are you doing? What is the action that you're doing? That's what I care about. And there's not enough people these days that actually give a shit about the substance, the action, what's happening. They just hear, oh, that sounds good. I like that. Yeah, sure, whatever. And they never follow up, right? Did it actually happen? Did it work? Did they come through with what they say? Nope. They don't care about that.
Well,
so.
they make them, like you said, they even make them like celebrities. Like they're no longer president as much as they become a celebrity. How Obama, he was hanging out with movie stars and like musicians and all this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, it's a really weird thing. And you touched on something when you were talking about like who's in control. Mm-hmm. This is like the question I have wondered forever, because I take a guy like The Rock. I grew up watching The Rock wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin. I loved watching him back then. And I enjoyed some of The Rock's movies. He's a super nice guy. Like, he's good. It seems like, I don't know him. I mean, he might be a super douche. I'm saying it off of what I'm seeing and hearing from different people. Really nice guy to people. But he kills me. One, he endorsed Joe Biden, which I'm like, come on, man. And then two, like this Joe Rogan thing that just recently happened.
Yeah.
He comes out in support of Joe, and he's like, we got you, Joe. Gonna have a drink with you on the show. And then the minute somebody's like, oh, what about this video? Joe uses the N-word. And like The Rock immediately is like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know about that. And like backtracks. And then, and actually I saw he started getting like bombarded. I saw a woman. Did you see where some woman apparently had messaged him about this and he didn't pay attention? And then a man messaged him about this and then he came out and said something. So now they're calling him a sexist. And like, it's like all this stuff is just like, it's exploding. I mean, that's the thing with the left too. The left will eat their own, like, rapid. So I just don't know. How does a guy like The Rock, he's worth, I don't know what he's worth, probably like $400 million. Who owns these people? Like, who has the power over these kind of people?
It's the same people that own the politicians. They're all in control of everything they do in their career, right? So they own the media companies, they own the freaking movie studios, they own all of these people. So they have total and control of, what they want them to say. They're owned by it. And unfortunately, so many people care about, their image and their paycheck that they go. I guarantee most of these celebrities and actors don't believe the bullshit that they're putting out. They're told to freaking do it. It's just like, everyone with the putting the black box up, like whatever that was, and it's like every single one of the celebrities did it. And it's like, why have you never talked about this before? And then you didn't
Yeah.
talk about it afterwards, right? But every single one of you put that black box up there, and it's like, you don't even believe your own bullshit, because if you believed in it and you're passionate about it, this would already have been something you were talking about, or you would have followed, if it's something that you just became aware of, you would have been following up with that and continuing to talk about it. But none of them do.
Yep.
They just do what they're told, and they are all the sheep, right? That they all hate that word, but that is, oh, one person did it, I got to do it. I have to do it. Like if I don't do it, then it looks bad on me if I don't do it. I mean, it's just they
Yep.
cannot speak for themselves, and they're so
Yeah.
worried about, oh, I got to, my paycheck, got to get my paycheck. So, um, it's the same thing. I feel with, like, we're gonna kind of jump over, but like the vaccine thing. I don't believe that half of these people believed in that thing, but they were like, your paycheck, you're gonna get fired, whatever.
Yeah.
Same like with the military. Like I'm really shocked with a lot of the military leaders with this whole thing. And I know a lot of people are glad I was out during this time, because they
No,
know
no
I would have
way.
absolutely not. My ass would have been in the brig. This ain't happening. You're not touching my dudes. Like, no, this is bullshit. It's, what I said from day one. And by that, I don't mean COVID's bullshit. Obviously, like, that's a thing, but the
Yeah.
whole, like, the narrative or whatever, because I am just a person. This hasn't never been political for me. I don't know how it got political. I mean, I do know, because that's what they drove. But like in the beginning, I couldn't figure. I was like, why is this political? Like, this is just, it to me, common sense.
Yeah.
The mask thing. I'm like, this isn't, that's not going to do anything for you. Putting my t-shirt over my face isn't going to protect me from anything. And like, I get attacked on social media a lot about this. And I had I think a doctor who came at me and was just like, how can you like say all this? I'm like, I'm an anti-masker, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all I've ever said, if you read my post, is that if you're going to make a standard because you're really, truly afraid that this is going to kill people, or a mandate, you're going to make a standard out of that mandate, right? So it
Yeah.
needs to be an N95 or better to properly protect yourself. And when you just say you just need to wear a mask and people are putting yarn over their face, or, a piece of nylon or whatever, like, what is that doing exactly? Because we know that's not protecting them. So what is the point of that? Like, I don't, and that was my whole thing. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. If it doesn't make sense to
Yep.
me, then I can't go with this, because it's got to make sense. But yeah, like they were, and I told the doctor, I said, let me change this narrative on you. It's now airborne Ebola. Are you still going to tell people to put their underwear over their head? Like, right? And it's like, well, no. Well, why not? Well, because
Yeah.
that's deadly. That's actually deadly. You're okay with telling people to do this because the chances of them dying from this is very, very slim. So for you to
Yep.
say that and go along with that narrative, there's not a whole lot of liability on you, because the chances that they're actually going to be, dead from this is slim. So now you're just going with this narrative and saying, just to go along with it, not believing in this shit, because otherwise you would say, when I said with this is airborne Ebola, well, yeah, wear your t-shirt over your head.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, it's actually made me think of the meme that came out where it shows Anne Frank, and it's like,
yeah,
now I know who would be the Nazis that would turn me in, like if I was back in Anne Frank's day. And
oh yeah,
it's been really, it's been really eye opening to me. Well, and I guess tying it even in with, like, I've told some people, and there's some people that listen that are in Canada on here. I'm glad y'all are listening, but y'all have bigger balls than we do as Americans these days. Like, that's what I've seen all this, and I'm like, man, I'm proud of these people for standing up for it. And it makes me look, and it's like, then I turn and look at us, like, and it's wild to me. I mean, even here in Tennessee, this is a super red area I'm in. I went to the grocery store the other day, and there was a lot of people wearing a mask. And I'm just like, this just is so dumb. I mean, like, it blows my mind how dumb this is. And I was one of the few people not wearing a mask. And like our military, I got a buddy he's actually a Navy SEAL. He's like 26 years old. I don't even know if he's that old, maybe 24. So he's young. He's a SEAL. He's in great shape. And he was required to get the vaccination, like when all that, I guess, started. And it's like, that to me is wild that you're taking somebody at the pinnacle of health and doing that.
The thing is that it's illegal what the military is doing. It's absolutely illegal. And it's going to come out. Like, mark my words, because there's lawsuits going on right now. It is illegal to force these guys to take this because it is not the FDA approved version. The FDA approved version, it hasn't even been made.
Really?
Pfizer has said they have not put it out because they don't want to waste what they have out there already, right? So they're going to lose money if they had to scrap everything that's out there and then put out the actual FDA approved version of this. So what is available is not FDA approved, which means it's illegal to tell the military, because there is a title, and I don't remember all the numbers, but there's a title that because of what happened, I want to say maybe anthrax or something else before that, you cannot experiment on military members. And this is considered experimental because it is not the FDA approved version. So everything they're doing is illegal. And I hope every one of these motherfuckers go down for this shit, because to force people to take this thing that is, and then again, it's like, you're anti-vax. No, I'm not a fucking anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. yes, you're right. I've had every other vaccine that they've given us, right? This is different. And if you're too stupid to do the research and what this is, the technology of this is completely different than anything they've ever used, right? Completely different. And then I get the whole the argument. Oh, well, this has been around for 3 decades. You're absolutely right. It has been around for 3 decades. Now tell me why, with it being around for 3 decades, is it only now being used for the first time on humans in an Emergency Authorization Act? Why didn't they do the proper clinical trials on every other virus that's been out there or something? They could have grabbed anything to do this thing, right? To do the proper clinical trials on this. But no, they decided after 3 decades of having this technology that we're going to use it on humans for the first time on an Emergency Authorization Act.
Yep.
Why?
But you can't ask those questions. You can't ask those questions, though. And again, people that are listening, you see why I like having Nikki on. Nikki, this is her episode. Your first episode is called "No Holding Back." I mean, and it's perfect. Like, it's just, it is mind blowing, but it's mind blowing to me how many people have gone along with it, and it's people that, like, I would have always assumed some of the people going along with it are the same ones that I always figured, man, if shit ever hits the fan and like a damn revolution breaks out, this person they'd probably have my back. And it's like, well, no, I don't guess so. Like it'd be a lot that would fall right in line. And I mean, it's, I
lost a lot of teammates on my zombie apocalypse team for sure.
Yep. Same here. But I feel, no, it has, I will say it's like really narrowed my team down to like the ones that are left. I feel like they're freaking solid. Like I've got a solid team now. So now I do want to jump onto a couple other things. Something that I saw actually earlier today, and you have kids. That's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. All right. This person, did you see the post? I don't remember their name, but I guess their kid. I mean, it was a terrible thing to read, but they're
bullying thing
about the bullying.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That broke my heart.
Me too. A 12-year-old kid.
What did he do? Did he take something or?
I don't know. I'm assuming, I'm assuming he killed himself, but I didn't know how he did it. Yeah. But it was just, my kids are 4, like I said, they're about to be 4. Like they're not dealing with that yet. But they'll deal with it. But I was talking to somebody, one of the problems, and like her post said, even back when I was in school, if you dealt with somebody talking crap about you, when you left, you were gone away from it. Like when you went home, you didn't have to deal with it because there was no social media stuff to worry about. And that's what they were saying nowadays. These kids that are getting bullied, they can never escape it because they go home and it's all over social media.
Yeah. I know. I'm telling you, social media is kind of the the freaking devil of our time. I mean, it's just, I can say 99% of our problems are can be attributed to social media. Like just the misinformation and like all the, biased journalism and whatever else. Like I just feel like with and it's funny, right? Because we have so much access to information now and it's so easy to get. And yet everyone is just worse off because whoever is doing all of this stuff, like this, like pushing all this information out, are geniuses when it comes to psychology. They really
Oh yeah.
understand
Yeah.
human behavior, human nature, and they're driving all this, right? So psychological warfare, I mean, that's a real thing because you start thinking about, I read an article about China and TikTok, right? So TikTok owned by China, whatever, that they actually limit what the people in China see. And it's more of the masculine, all that whatever stuff, right?
Mm.
And then they push the other stuff towards other countries, like that we're seeing, right? And they're
Yeah.
able to control and influence our youth by what they're pushing out there because these kids, they are all on this freaking TikTok bullshit. And it's
Yeah.
like, and they all talk the same and they all whatever. And it's like, some of the stuff that my daughter says, I'm like, where did you get this from? And then like you hear another 13-year-old the same age say the same thing. And it's like, it's freaking TikTok. So they are actually they're influencing what our kids think and they've changed their like mindset on certain topics and whatever else by what they're feeding them and what's in their feed every single day. And yet they're able to control what their country sees and so it's basically what do I want, how do I want, the flow of my country to go,
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
things with China, like they're limiting, they're like eliminating all the what do you call it, effeminate males or whatever, like any of that type of entertainment, they've banned that from their entertainment. So people don't see that anymore and they're pushing a certain thing in their own country and then they're shuffling other things towards, what I would assume we are not exactly, friends with them. So they're enemies. But they are
Well,
basically controlling how we think or how, a lot of these people are thinking and, how they view things and whatever else. So it is fascinating. And yeah, with the bullying and all that stuff, like, there's all this control over, people have so much more control with their one little Instagram page or whatever,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Whereas before, yes, it was only at school or whatever. I mean, now it's like this person who can say and do anything on their one little page and then tell their friends that, hey, share this, whatever. They can make it go viral or however. Like they just have way more power, without consequence, I think.
Yep.
Do this social media. And like, yeah, I don't know the full story with that 12-year-old boy, but for him to, get to that point, I just, it's crazy to me, and I read that article and I'm like, man, is there anything I'm missing? Because, kids don't tend to talk a lot about what's going on at school. Like with my kids, I have to constantly
Yeah.
like, oh, the school, I worry about my son a little bit because he's quieter. He's a little bit shy. So I'm like, are you alone? Do you have friends that you eat lunch with? So I'm constantly asking these questions because he won't outright tell me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's scary to think that family had no idea that whatever was going on to the point where he felt like he couldn't live anymore. So
Yeah. That, and I mean, and that's what, like, I think back to, I mean, it really is wild to me to think about, like, because at that age, I mean, at 12 years old, I had like no worry in the world. I mean, like, I was all about just, I'm a kid full of life and joy. And like, I didn't have anything like that weighing on me. And I mean, even when, back then, cause I've talked to some people about it and they're kind of since then we were kind of bumping stuff about, how do you handle this? What do you do there? And they were like, man, you just tell your kids to like beat up the bully, punch them and knock them out, whatever. And I'm like, I get that, back in the day, that's used to be what you could say, but you can't escape them. Like you said, it doesn't, you're not really getting away from them, even if the kid does that. Things have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to see a bully get punched in the face. Like, I'm not saying I don't want that to happen, but I'm saying that probably won't stop it. Like, it's because they can go home and that bully can be safely behind his phone or whatever. And like they make a video, they share it to their friends and their friends share it. Cause the person they're picking on, they don't even have to be on the stuff. Cause, I'm kind of a proponent of, kind of guarding your kids from that kind of stuff as long as you can. And, but the bad thing is they don't have to be on there for somebody to make something about them, and then they share it with their friends. I mean, and they're going to inevitably find out that, hey, you're the running joke on TikTok. Like, so it is really wild. I mean, and even I see it even with grown men that are bullies online and stuff. And it's like, all of them with the kids, I look at it and I say they have shit bags for parents, because that's what has caused that. Like, I got the way I was raised, you were kind to people. And if I was ever not kind to people, I was getting an ass whooping for not being good to people. So like, that's how I was raised. These kids that are shitheads to other people now and are like bullying. I mean, to me, I see that. I'm like, well, they have shitty parents. Like, they must have some real shit bags for parents. And then I see these grown men, like I say, that talk shit and do all this stuff online, and they have kids, and I'm like, oh shit, here goes. It's going to be the continuing cycle.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of issues, but yes, there are, some of these meme pages, I watch them go after people and attack people, and it's like, and they do it safely behind their, anonymous site too. And it's like, you're, military people or prior veteran, whatever they are, attacking other people. And it's like, I think I was I attacked on one of these bigger meme pages because I suddenly was getting these DMs from people that were just random and not following me and saying like, you're not tactical. Why are you whatever? And like all this shit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And like somebody like ended up, cause I wrote back, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And like somebody like sent me a story to this one page, which was already expired at that point. So I didn't know what it was, but obviously it was something about me. And I think it was something with my birthday post that I posted like a video of me doing like different workouts or whatever. And some of it I had my play carrier on because I was training at the time for tactical games. And so it had something to do with that post, but like whatever they said about me was like, I was trying to be tactical or something like that. And I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Like that post was meant to be like, I'm 45, get out and, get off your ass, work out. If I can do it, you can do it. Like it was meant to be like a motivational post. And I'm like, so one of these pages, with some fucking dude hiding behind his page anonymously, obviously he's too fucking cowardly to come out, is gonna make fun of that. Like, are you like, really? Okay. So yeah, it's just, it's crazy. The second part of this is that there's a problem with society. You would think it's like, oh, the parents didn't discipline them, right? They didn't beat their ass or whatever, kind of like what we grew up with. Society won't let you do that. And I'll tell you a story. My mother, who was 70 at the time, she came to visit, took my kids, took my car, took them to get yogurt. My middle child, who tends to be, she was, I think at the time, probably 5 or 6, she's rambunctious and she's, she was acting out of line. So my 70-year-old Asian mother spanked her ass. Somebody followed her out to the car, took down my license plate. I had CPS at my house because my 70-year-old mother spanked my daughter who deserved it. And they investigated me for 6 months. They would come and do visits.
Over a butt whooping.
Yes.
Wow.
So this is the problem. They have tied the parents' hands, right? And kids know these days, oh, I'll just go complain to my teacher or whatever that they blow it out of proportion or whatever they do. And you will have CPS at your house investigating you. I mean, they would come, they pulled all 3 of my kids out of school and interviewed them without me knowing. Went to my kid's school, pulled all 3 out of class and interviewed them. I had no idea they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. when are you getting your U-Haul truck rented and getting out of there is what I'm wondering. Like the more I'm hearing, you need to get out of there. Like just,
well, one, that happens across the country. That's not just California. Two, apparently there are no U-Hauls because everybody has rented them.
I've seen that. Yeah, everybody's moving out. This mass exodus. Yeah. No, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I worry. I mean, and I raise my kids like I was raised. Like that's something that my kids might be some standout, like different than some of their other like kids their age when they get there. But I don't know. That's just, I'm going to raise them the same way that I was.
My intention was, the same thing. And the problem is that they get to a certain age, because I was always like, oh, I'm not going to let my kids on social media, blah, blah, blah. You can't. My option is to not give them a phone, which is hard. I'm a working mother, right? So I need to know where they are. I need to be able to communicate with them. So it's not give them a phone at all, because I've tried to like go and delete their stuff, and they find all these little backdoor, like they know technology way better than we do. And they find these backdoor apps, whatever, and they can hide their, I mean, it's crazy. I can't even keep up with how many different social media groups and chat groups and whatever else that are going on. It's insane. So I don't know. I don't know how to shield them from this. And we've really kind of made a mess of all this. And when you have, again, other countries that control these apps, you're stupid to think that they can't control what your kids are seeing, how they think, or anything else. You are stupid if you don't think that can happen. And it is happening. Because like I said, you can talk to everything that my daughter was saying. I was talking to other parents who had the same exact age daughters that said the exact same thing. And I was like, they're being told this. And it was like one of them, and I'll say it, like, so my daughter had come to me and she's like, I'm pansexual. And I was like, you don't even know what that means. Like, I'm like, you don't even know what that means. Like, you're 13. You don't know whatever, like, what?
Yeah.
I wanted to shave her head. Just wanted to shave her head, and she was pansexual. Talked to another mother who's freaking out. She's like, oh my God, my 13-year-old wants to shave her head and she thinks she's pansexual. And I was like, huh, interesting. Talked to another mother, same thing. And I was like, this is all the same time frame. And I'm like, they're being fed this.
It really, which I'm not afraid to entertain some conspiracies. So like I've thought about that, kind of to a degree, like China, which I guess it's not even really a conspiracy. I know you saw the ad for like China's military, and it's like a very masculine, manly, like, it pumps you up like a testosterone packed military ad. Like the old ones I think about that we used to have, where the Godsmack song would play and it would show like the freaking jets taking off and dudes armed, and it pumped you up. And then we have the new one, and I've talked about it on here before, where it's the woman and she's talking about her gay mother is what inspired her to become like something in the army or whatever. And it's
I actually posted those two things side by side. So it was actually the Russia one, the Russian military.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that, and then our army one, and I posted those. They're still up on my Instagram, but I posted them side by side, like.
It's sad, but I wholeheartedly believe, and this is like would be really offensive to some people, but several years ago, you never heard, I mean, around here, I never heard of anybody being gay. Like I never heard of that hardly at all. And now it's like, I mean, it's like crazy. I mean, it seems like all kinds of people are gay now. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And like I said, especially kids, like I've talked to people. We got a younger guy that helps us, and he knows some people that are still in high school, and they've said like a lot of them are gay. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I mean, and so I believe, because everything you watch now, like you watch any show, there's always there's a gay person, there's a tranny, whatever they're called, whatever in there in the show. And I'm always like, it's become mainstream. It's become like cool or normal or whatever. And like I said, these apps, I mean, it's in China's favor to soften Americans. Like that would absolutely be in their favor. And so, I mean, you get them, hell, one, you get people confused on their sexuality. They sure ain't going to be, that's going to jack them up on a lot of levels. So, I mean, they're not going to be able to be prepared for some sort of what I would consider like a challenge or a war or whatever that is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there are a couple of things. I think one, with it being more talked about, why we're seeing maybe more people who are coming out is because, and I'll say, like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care. And this is my whole thing too, has been, they've divided us on these social issues that I think everyone can agree. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, what you do in your personal life, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either side of the aisle, for the most part, no one cares. I think maybe you're seeing it more because it is more acceptable, right? So I think I would say maybe, there would be a handful of people in our day that probably would have come out if they didn't think they were going to be harassed and bullied and whatever else, because there were, people who were genuinely, they were gay and, homosexual, whatever. And some died for that. You know what I mean? Like, they were actually killed for that. And so I think now it's just more, it's accepted and they're not worried about it. So you do have, people that are coming out more. Do I think that there's all of this, with all this, they, kids see it on TV, whatever, has it swung to this side of like, it's so acceptable that people think they are, that they're not, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, because yes, there just seems to be, well, and I think that the word they're using is like this pansexual thing. Cause I was like, I don't understand what that means. Like, what is that? And it's like, you can love anybody and everybody, which is like, it's a good message to put out, but I'm like, you're labeling something that, I think it's like it's almost like, so these kids like that aren't gay are feeling included in that whole movement. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, it's a strangest thing that's happening. Cause it's like, dare I say my daughter is not gay because I've obviously known you since you were born. And it's like, everything has been about boys and blah, blah, and whatever else. And it's like, but I know like she's trying to be supportive to like whatever people she talks to, and it's almost like their way to support that movement, or I don't know. It's very, we've kind of, we've swung this pendulum to this other side, and, and the whole, the trying to, the feminist movement, fucking hate that thing. To try to demasculate men is detrimental, kind of touches on what you just said, is like, men are our protectors, right? They are the first line of defense in anything. So we have this country that we're still trying to be a nation, and you're still supposed to have, like, we're sovereign, we have like borders, whatever. And like, if somebody were to attack us, guess who we don't want women up there at the front trying to defend, a very large country is trying to attack us. Our men, men are the first line of defense for that. If they don't have that aggressiveness that they're born with, if they don't have that instinct to stand up and fight and defend their country, their families, everything else, we are not going to fare very well in that. And that's where I think, you're right. These countries that are controlling a lot of this media and what's being pushed to them, that is what they're aiming for, is to, almost say it's okay, it's cool not to be manly.
Yeah.
It's almost, it's not cool to be a man or to talk about muscles.
That's what I was going to say. It's actually, at this point, I would say it's not cool to be manly. Like, I see, I mean, and it has flooded into everything. Like, what was it? The dude. And again, like I said, on the gay thing, I don't care what you do behind closed doors. Just don't shove it down my throat, I guess, is the biggest thing. But like the dude that wore a dress on what was the guy's name? I can't remember. He was some Hollywood guy, and he was on the cover of a magazine in a dress, and they were like almost trying to make it like it was normal that this dude is wearing a dress and all this stuff. And he's not gay. He's a normal, like, well, I don't know if I'd go as far as say he's a normal guy, but he's not a gay dude. But he's in a dress, and they're like trying to make this normal. And it is. I mean, toxic masculinity, that's the big phrase.
Right.
They've loved that phrase for several years.
That's that whole feminist movement, and the problem I have with that I feel like, these women, it's like, oh, for me to show like how strong and powerful I am is I have to bring down men, right? I can't rise above them. I've got to bring them down to give me that edge up. And it's like, if that's what you have to do, like, you're not strong, you're not power, you're nothing. You're a piece of shit is what you are. Because I have survived in many just all male environments, being the only female, and I've never had to bring down or try to bring down the men around me so I could feel more superior, right? What that did, and and I had men that didn't want me around, and they were very blunt about it, but all that did was just make me work harder. And it formed more of my personality to be stronger and be confident, and it had nothing to do with bringing them down, to rise above them. And I feel like this whole feminist thing is like, oh, we need to like demasculinate men so we can feel strong. I don't know. And it's like, you have no idea. Like, we're in such a bubble right now, and these people can't see ahead what these other countries are doing. And it's like, Afghanistan and Iraq, if one of these countries wanted to really like start a war with us, like that is nothing compared to what can happen. And these people have no freaking idea. No idea. And they're the first ones that are going to be screaming, where are the men when something happens? And it's like, I don't know, like, people feel like so safe and so secure that they can like say all this shit and do all this shit. And they don't think like any outside entity is going to come in. And it's like, you're so wrong. Like, it's already happening. And I've had to tell people that. I was like, if there's this war with China, it's already happening. China will never directly attack us. They won't. They're not going to go into this like full on, like, this is what everybody thinks is like, oh, well, if they come to our country, it's not going to they're already here. And they've already,
that's what I was going to say. They're here,
in my opinion, declared war, because they are taking us down internally, and they are doing a really good job of it. Because I had a discussion with a friend of mine. He was a Marine Cobra pilot, and he said, if that happens, he's going to law school now, and like he's I wouldn't say he's liberal, but he's kind of, I don't know what the hell he's thinking, but he had said, and he was like, if they attack us, I'll be the first to get in my helicopter and go. And I said, but that is not what is going to go down. What's going to go down is what they're doing, which is like buying farmland and buying properties and all that. Like, you got to question, why are all these Chinese people doing this, right? Taking down our economy, flooding our social media, and showing our, the newer generation what they should be thinking and how they should be acting and everything else. Like, they're already doing it. This is China. They are very slow and they are very methodical. And this plan has probably been in place for many years. And they are very patient people.
Oh, yeah.
They will wait for it out. It is not going to be this in your face, direct, crazy attack. It's not going to happen, because they're going to lose a lot too, right? Because we do still have a lot of firepower and everything else. So like, they're doing it in a way that we think it's, they're not bad or whatever. Like, we don't even see it coming, and it's happening. And it's just gonna, like, one day you're gonna, lose your freedoms or whatever, which is like, I feel like this last couple of years have been an attempt on that. So, or some type of test, or experiment something, because it's too crazy how fast it just all fell, and to have countries like Canada and Australia still dealing with like very harsh mandates, and not being able to whatever, they curfews and all this other stuff, like is it's crazy. But
it is well, you're like all over what me and I recently had Butch Whiting from Crook Tech on the show, and he told me some crazy stuff. Like, they had to actually their trademark got stolen in China. They had to buy it back on the black market. Some crazy stuff like that. Like he was talking about the intellectual property, I guess, that China steals from the U.S. But we got to
Yeah.
talking about the how China, and he agrees 100% with what you just said, because he was talking about how China is buying businesses and land and different things here. And so many people don't know. And what's wild is there's a lot of people that'd be like, well, that's great. That's great. Let them buy the stuff. Like that's, like we've got a lot of the, like, the peace, love, like that's great. I'm glad that they're doing this. And it's like, they're gonna, they're destroying like the American ideology. Like, it used to, the flag flew, at least if nothing else, everybody could agree, like, man, the flag is solid. It's our flag of our country. And, people could kind of at least unite around that kind of American spirit. And now it's like frowned upon. Like I saw a thing where the word freedom is like now considered a bad word, and it's considered a word used by the alt-right. And it's like, what in the world? I mean, so, and this is all...
That's been a campaign against all of that. Like, if you don't think that was intentionally put into people's heads, like you're crazy and you're naive and stupid. Like,
see, and I don't know, I don't know how you fight this, because like I'm seeing it, it's like as a farmer, I see it. I've had land that gets bought. And our granaries, I had told recently this, our granaries, I think, are all China owned. I don't even know that there is an American owned granary left that we even have to haul to. And Butch and I both said this, like their names don't change. Like it's not a Chinese name on the building. Yeah. Like if you go to this building, it'll be named like, it'd be named like Gregory's, or so, I don't know, Gregory's Grant, like it's something stupid, but it would be an American sounding name. And you would think, okay, this place is solid. And then you get to looking, and hell, it's owned in China. And land, these land purchases they buy, I guarantee you, if you pulled up a property map and you looked up some of the farmland that China bought, it isn't going to say some Chinese name. It's going to be like a group, some sort of group name. And if you read it, you might just think it's some sort of investment group or something. But if you traced it back, it would go back to China. This should really, really alarm people, because I'm pretty sure Americans, I don't think we can go to China and buy land. I think they have it where foreigners cannot purchase land or something in there. Have you heard of that?
Well, I mean, most countries that value their nation don't let people just come in and start living there without having citizenship. Like that's what we're doing. That's not what other countries are doing. Even like liberal countries in Europe still don't let you do. You can't just go to France and be like, I'm just going to live here now. Like, no, you got to learn their language. You got to be a citizen. There's a whole thing. And so, no, of course not. And Chinese, Asians, like they are the most nationalist type of people. Their country, their symbol, everything means everything, right? Dare I say they're the most racist people too. And I'm Asian, so I can say this. Like and when I say racist, they're racist against every other race other than their own. So if you're not Chinese, even if you're other Asian races, like they don't like you. They don't like Vietnamese people. They don't like Japanese people. They only like their people.
Why?
And so that's just because honestly, like that is how you stay strong as a nation, right? Is if you keep letting other people in, we're seeing it now, right? So you can go to certain states in our own country that are occupied by Middle Eastern people, or other pockets that are occupied by Asians, other pockets, like they're like, that's what happens, right? And then you get this whole like, oh, your flag is bad because these people are coming in and they're telling, like they're bringing their own culture in. So if you go to these different little Chinas, or like these little, I don't even know what they're calling, like I think it's Minneapolis that is like
it is Middle Eastern, huge. Yeah.
Like I went through the airport and thought I was in the Middle East somewhere. I was like, wow. But they're not, it's fine if you come here and you learn our language and you adopt our, constitution, our principles, all that stuff, our flag, everything, right? Just as if you were trying to go to another country and do the same thing, you have to adopt their culture. That's what they want you to do. It's fine if you do that, but you go to these different areas and you would think you're in that country.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing. It's not them. It's really not a racist thing. They are nationalists, and they are about their country, and they are about their symbol and what it represents and who they are, and that whole thing. Like, they have a sense of identity because it hasn't been, mixed with all these different cultures that don't believe in what we stand for.
Yeah.
So if I went to China, I'm sure in like all these other countries, I can go to these countries and apply to be a citizen, but I have to learn their stuff, right? But if I went to their countries and said, I don't like what you guys are doing here, I don't like your culture, I don't like your flag, I'm going to bring my flag and I'm going to fly it all over, and I'm going to, not learn your language, whatever, what do you think they would do to me?
Then you ain't coming here. Yeah.
I ain't coming there, I'm going to disappear or something, right? So like,
yeah.
You're not going to freaking bring that shit to my country. So that's what it is. And like, people, we've made it so much, and I'm sure I'll get flack for even saying this stuff, is like, God forbid you're honest. But we've made it so politically incorrect to say the truth that people, they'll look at what I just said as me being a bad person or something, or me, trying to talk out against it, when I am just telling you the truth. If you just read history or you look at history, you can see, their patterns and how they operate and do business and whatever. Like, that's just a fact. And people, if they would just own up to it and like what they actually believe, because I'm sure, I hear it all the time. People don't like going to these certain areas of the country and not being able to, like, they're like no-go zones where you can't even get into these areas if you're not part of their culture or whatever. And it's like, this is our own country that other people are telling us we can't go into.
Well, they're coming here, but they're not coming here they're coming here, but they're bringing, this is a really confusing way of putting it, but they're bringing their or their country here, I guess, is the kind of thing. Like, they come here, but they're not actually coming to assimilate and become Americans as much as they're coming here to be on our soil, but bring their place here. And
so think of this as a smaller scale. California's leaving and going to these states. What are they doing? They're infiltrating these states and bringing their culture and their beliefs to the states and changing those states. The same thing on a larger scale.
Yep. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. I mean, that actually really makes me think about what is kind of the strength of China. And that would make sense. I mean, they're all relatively, I would say, united in that same nationalism, even though some of them might hate being under that like communist rule. They're still all, they're probably at their core linked in that same thing. And, I don't know, that's the U.S. It's really mind blowing to me. I mean, every day I'm like more and more, I don't know if I'm surprised anymore, but like, I'm just blown away by how, like, having secure borders, like something that sounds so obvious, like that sounds so obvious to me, is like racist, or that's terrible to say. Like, I mean, and I mean, in the way that I look at it, I mean, and it's easy for me to look at it. If I was a Democrat and I wanted to strengthen my voter base, hell, let's let them all in. Like, if I want to ensure my victory, then which party is it that's for the open borders? Well, it's the Democrats. The left side of the aisle, they're pro. And I'm sure there is some Democrat politician that is not in favor of it. So I guess I shouldn't lump them all together. But in large, they're the ones pushing that. And so it's like, if I'm the guy that's being let into this country by just open borders, well, I'm going to support the person that was part of that. And so, I mean, they know what they're doing. And then you get these people that think, like, some of these people seem to really think there's no like nefarious actions or whatever that these politicians are doing. And I mean, whether it be with COVID, they think, man, they're really just worried about our safety and our health, or like, these concerns, and they don't actually think like when you talk about the Second Amendment, if you say something about that, they're like, you honestly think that a government would take away the people's firearms? And it's like, do you know anything? Like,
No.
but they, so it's, I mean, we live in the most, in a morbid way, we almost need some shit to hit the fan.
Yeah. I would agree with you. But the problem, like I said, is it's not going to be an in your face,
Yeah.
all out attack type of thing. And it's going to be what they're doing. And people, then you have people who are basically letting it all happen because they don't know any better, because they're ignorant. They aren't educating themselves. And that's the problem, education.
Yeah.
So like you're saying you're a farmer and you're seeing this, right? So that needs to be talked about more. The awareness needs to come from the people that are seeing it and doing it. And like you can do it. Like, but you have to, like, if you're seeing this problem, it needs to start being talked about a lot more, and not just by one person, but by all of you.
Yeah.
Need to get together. And and you fight back with, you can use social media. It's kind of like the Canadians with the truck convoy. How did they get that movement going? People together collectively started some pages that they just started sharing the crap out of it. The big one, the Freedom Convoy 2022, I think it is. They're up to 500,000, and they're the ones that I'm going to for the information of what's going on up there, because they have multiple people that they show videoing. So they're not just one source. They're, if you go through their stories, they're sharing everybody who's there, who are actually videoing and talking about what's going on. But they've managed to keep this movement going by doing that. And so, that's kind of how you can fight back, is you have to collectively, your community has to get together and be like, something's not right here. Start doing the research and start putting it out. So like, where the basic person can understand it. Cause like, if you started talking about farm stuff, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. And I probably would lose interest in what you're saying. So you have to, you got to do it in a way that it like gets my attention, because why are you telling me this? Because me all the way over in California, it will eventually, or can eventually, affect me, right? So you got to put that information out, that simple explanation, but also why I need to be concerned about it. And and it's just like, it's like the people in the red states, where they don't, I find it to be a little bit of laziness on their part, because they don't want to participate in what's happening. They don't want to get out there and vote. And some of them, are detrimental to people like us who are trying to spread that awareness by saying, oh, you're a conspiracy. Like, this will never happen. It's on both sides. So, with people saying that and saying that it will never happen here or whatever, either way, whether it's, liberals saying that the government would never attack us, which we all know, if you've ever worked for the government, they don't give a shit about you. Or, the other side being like, oh, either, oh, my vote doesn't count, or it'll never happen here. It'll never come here. I don't need to like get off my ass and do something about it. That's what's detrimental to, I think, people like us who are seeing it happen and trying to raise the awareness, but we're almost fighting our own people, trying to put the information out there. So, and I've said many times, they've divided, the government is not for either, whether you're a liberal or you're conservative, they're not for us. They are dividing us, and they're dividing us on social issues that don't fucking matter. And every time I have a conversation with somebody who's liberal, and I have many friends who are liberal, and luckily we're able to sit down and have a conversation, without getting pissed off at each other. But every time I talk to them, like, if you are honest with yourself, again, we can all agree that I don't care what you do. Like, in fact, I'm about less government, right? So stay out of my business either way. Stay out of your business. You want to marry the same sex. You want to marry a cat or a dog. I don't know what it is people are doing, but I don't care. I don't care. Like, that's your business. Keep it your business. Shouldn't be the government's business. Shouldn't be anybody's business other than your own, right? So the social issues, the majority of people are not racist. I don't care like what color your skin is. I don't care if you're a good person. I don't give a shit what you are. You know what I mean? Most people can agree with that. That the whole masculinity thing, if you actually talk to people, there's only a very small subgroup that is like, oh, men are toxic and blah, blah, blah. The majority of people don't actually believe that, and most of my friends who are even liberal are like, yeah, I like it when a guy opens the door for me, or like treats me well. Like, it's like they can agree with that. So we can agree that we actually agree on social issues, even though they've divided us on this. What we can all agree
Yeah.
on too is that what our concerns are economy, national security, foreign policy. Every time I talk to them and break it down that way, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, we all actually, if we sit down and actually have a conversation with each other, we agree on the same topics. We agree that your social shit doesn't matter. We agree that we are all concerned about national security and our economy and everything else. So the majority
Yeah.
are in agreement, but they've divided us on the social issues because that brings out emotion and passion and everything else. And, the automatic assumption that, oh, you fly a American flag, you're racist.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The
Like,
stuff that doesn't matter is what they keep us tied up on. Like that's
yeah,
what they keep us tied up on. And and obviously I'm not like minimizing if somebody actually is a racist. But like you said, there is people, I would say largely the majority is not, they're not racist. I mean,
no,
and I would go like, I've got good friends that are police officers. They're
mhm,
good folks. Like they're good guys.
yeah,
There is going to be some dirt bags that are police officers. There's dirt bags that are farmers. There's dirt
yeah,
bags in the military. There's
right,
dirt bags in every industry.
right,
But I'm not going to condemn the whole group because of the few. Like
but
you know, it's just, I don't know, we're in such a strange time. I mean, everything is very emotional, it's all emotion driven. And it's
yeah,
like when you start to try to bring like some facts in or something, nobody wants that. Like, and what is a fact anymore? Like, we were talking about, I can't remember if we had started recording or not, but we both of us said we really don't watch the news anymore.
yeah,
Because now there's like, well, facts is like almost an opinion these days. Like, nothing is factual anymore. Like, and you can look up a fact, I feel like, or something that is supposed to be a fact. You could Google one thing and you're going to find 10 reasons why it's a fact. And you can Google the same thing and you're going to find 10 reasons why it's not a fact. And so it's like, what? That's been the biggest thing with the vaccine with me. It's like, I don't know what in the hell to believe. Like, so,
yeah,
and I've talked to other people, and it's something what you hit on is absolutely true. I wish people would actually talk to people and
yeah,
not online, in person, like actually in person where you ain't, one, you're not assuming what their tone is like off of reading. You actually
right,
hear them speak, and you're going to be a hell of a lot less quick to call them like a piece of shit or something because you're sitting right there with them, you're with them. And so people don't interact enough anymore. And, the
yeah,
government, like I said, they've got us where they want us. I mean, we are in their hands. I mean, you see which we're seeing more pushback on. One thing that is kind of cool, I guess, is we're seeing more people get into hunting and things like that because they went to the grocery stores and there was nothing there. And so that did push some people to get into hunting, and other people, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, like, so
yeah.
I feel like the pendulum has swung super far, and it's like I feel like it's kind of reached the point where something has got to swing back. Or something's going to break.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's what we're talking about with Canada is like it's actually nice and it's surprising in a way to see them kind of be the first to be like, we've had enough, and to start this
Yeah.
whole with genius, this whole truck convoy. Um, and then to, get on top of things as far as like they knew the media was going to try to spin it. They knew they were going to try to make them look bad. And so to get on top of it and like I said, use social media in a good way to show like, no,
Yeah.
this is absolutely incorrect. This is what's going on and so forth. Um, so I really like, because they've been putting up with it for so long and like just go with it, go with it, go with it, that they broke, right? So they're like, no, we're done. And like they were done. That it wasn't a like, oh, we're kind of done. It was like we're freaking done. We're stopping this. And
Yeah.
then they gained that momentum of support. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that like their pendulum is definitely hit. They're done with that. Australia, I think, is following suit with the convoys. I was reading, there's another guy, I can't remember his name, but he's been reporting all this stuff in Australia, and he has a huge following, and he's showing like all the stuff that's going on. But
Yeah.
he's just reporting that Australians are starting to do, they're starting to occupy their areas as well, and then they're using trucks as well. So like, maybe with that momentum, and this is the standoff though, I think, is like, I think Trudeau knows, or whoever is controlling him, if he gives in, that it's all going to fall. It's all
Yeah.
because everyone's watching him, right? So if it works and they fuck, so I think that's why he's being so resistant, or he's being told to be resistant, is that
Yeah.
once one of these countries wins, essentially, and it's all going to just fall. So
Do you think the U.S. will follow? Like, let's say that it works, and Canada takes back basically from old Gooberhead over there, Justin. Do you think the U.S. You think we would go follow suit? Do you think we got the balls to do it?
I think it's a little different here because a lot of people are just like, I'm done, and you
Yeah.
have all these different, like we're set up a little differently with all the states and like, local governments and that type of thing. Cause like, honestly, in California, so it surprises me to hear you say in Tennessee that people were wearing masks and whatever, because the stores around where I live, like maybe I'll have like one or two people, but the rest of them, like nobody has been wearing masks.
Yeah.
Our little like restaurant, we call it Old Town Temecula, from the get-go were like, they complied for a little bit, like right in the beginning when nobody knew what the heck was going on and if it was really bad. And then they were like, after the first lockdown, they're like, no, we're done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the restaurants were like, we're still open, and it was very resistant. So
Was it because, do you think it was, I'm wondering now, you've got me wondering, like, because out here, it never was like crazy strict. I mean, it was kind of strict, but it wasn't ever crazy strict. So, I mean, it was kind of like, yeah, we'd like for you to wear a mask. Not a whole lot's going to be said. So do you think maybe they got more of a belly full quicker out there than like, say, somewhere here? Like, those people had it, like those businesses took such a hit from that. And all this, the people are like, yeah, no, we ain't doing this shit no more. Like, I wonder if that's almost the case.
I don't really know, because I can't really speak on it, but like, places like Washington State were hit really hard too, but they seem to keep going with like what's happening. I could be wrong. Maybe businesses are opening, but I feel like they stayed closed all through all the different lockdowns and whatever. And again, this is like, we're talking, I'm on the outskirts, right? So I'm not in LA. So I know LA, they're still losing their minds over there. San Diego hasn't been as bad that I've noticed. San Francisco, that's not even in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a whole other country. But if you go outside of that, like it's again, I'm an hour from LA, and we are a very conservative pocket here. So we fall under Riverside, and and it's pretty well known, the Riverside sheriff and the San Bernardino sheriff were like, we're not enforcing this bullshit. You know what I mean? So so I think, it's different, but that's that perception that people have is like, oh, you're in California, you all must be like in jail in your homes and having to wear a whole bodysuits to go outside. And it's like, no, like I'm in an area where I haven't worn a mask in public other than the hospital. For probably a year. So, anywhere. So,
well, maybe California's going to like, maybe they're sending so many of the Democrats out to infiltrate other states that they're losing their base. So now's the time to take back California.
Yeah. I think there are actually campaigns for that.
Like, the Republicans, they need to start sending people to California then. We just need to take a page out of their playbook.
Well, I mean, they really should, right? Because if you look at the states that are blue, it's all the nice places. We have these beautiful
Yeah.
beaches, we have all this stuff, so it's like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, yeah, let's do a little switch and let's all stay here, get the idiot out of office, get somebody who, like, let's change this whole thing. So, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah. What are
Raise your
your
faith.
what's your they have what is your thoughts on I made a note of this because when we were talking earlier about political like people, what's your thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard?
Um, I listen to I don't follow her, but I listen to some of the stuff. Like a lot of people reshare her, and I've seen some of her stuff. She seems to be a very moderate Democrat, hovering on the. She almost seems to be what like a lot of us are saying. Like we don't care about the social stuff. Like we care about the national security economy, blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it seems to be what she's touching on, and so um I, again, don't know a lot about her, but she seems to be riding that line of where we all kind of are, but she just calls herself a Democrat. So it's like she's, alienating the people who are just only see titles, which is unfortunate these days.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're bothering to listen to her because she has the title of being a Democrat. Um, but I think she's also like gaining support from a lot of people that wouldn't have necessarily supported a liberal either. So, and she seems to be, I see
Yeah.
some of her stuff that she speaks out on, and I'm like, her party cannot like her. Like,
Oh, they
she,
don't. Yeah, they hate her.
yeah. So, like, I mean, I just watched something. I don't even remember what the topic was, but I remember thinking, like, that's like way against what like her party's throwing out there. So, you know, that's great. Like, we need more people like that. I don't know if she has enough support and momentum to get any farther than where she is. But, if
Yeah.
we can get more people like that who will speak out and talk about it without, doesn't seem like she cares about the repercussions very much. So, or otherwise she wouldn't say some of the stuff that she's saying. But um yeah, I don't I'm undecided right now, but I've liked what I've seen so far as like she's willing to go against what her party is probably telling her she needs to be saying or whatever it is. So, um,
Yeah. I think I think that's what really like hurt her when she was running for, I guess, campaigning for president. I mean,
yeah,
ultimately ended up going with Biden. She was too moderate. She's not left enough. Now,
yeah,
I guess where I'm concerned, I don't know her views on like the Second Amendment. I've never heard her really talk about that. I feel like she probably does that a little bit on purpose. Like she's kind of, I mean, she is a politician. Like that's what I try to remind myself because she'll put up some stuff and I'll really like what she's saying. Like, and I love that she was one of the first ones that called out Hillary Clinton. She like went toe to toe with Hillary Clinton. I mean, lucky she didn't get suicided. So I mean, like like I'm proud of her for that. And I mean, she might be awesome. It's hard because you just don't, like we've been saying, if
yeah,
she's genuinely like a good, solid person, it's just hard to know now because all of them are so freaking fake. Like when a real one comes around, it's like, are they real?
yeah. Um, I mean, I would have to say she's pretty genuine because again, she does speak out, and it seems to be a lot more frequently too. So I don't know if she's just like, I'm tired
Yeah.
of playing politics. I'm saying what's on my mind, whatever, or if she feels she's already like dug her grave with it and like, F this, I still have a platform. I'm going to
Just ready
say
to roll.
whatever, which is, I think is great. Um,
Yeah.
people should just be like that from the beginning. But then I also understand that if you're like that from the beginning, nobody's going to listen to you because they'll cancel you somehow. So, um, maybe her ploy was to get a platform and get, people listening. And then she's now like letting it loose. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I'm with you. I just don't, I'm so distrustful of everything I hear. And I
Yep.
hate being that way, but it just, it just seems that's just the way it is, like you can't trust anything that anyone says or, what you're hearing, what you're reading. It's bad. So, um,
Yep.
I guess time will tell with that one. But I think these elections coming up in the next, this year and a couple of years are going to be real, real interesting.
Yeah.
um,
Do
I
you
think a
think
lot
we're
of
going to see
people,
this red wave?
if it was genuine and non-fraudulent, and there really isn't some way that they're, somehow swaying the votes, yes, I absolutely think there would be a red wave. But I also think they know that and, you know, are
Taking precaution.
that. And I just think if there's some way they're like not counting votes, that
Yeah.
it's gonna be even worse this time. So, yeah, because I don't believe the election was legitimate. I don't believe the recall here was legitimate. Somehow they're able to, just the fact that like overnight, what was it, Pennsylvania found, was it
Oh, is
Pennsylvania, I
that the
think?
graph that went like straight up?
Yeah, it's like we found 300,000 mail-in votes. Like, really overnight you did? Okay. I mean, that right
Yeah.
there is what told me like this is bullshit. Because I remember going to bed that night thinking, oh yeah, we're good. And then waking
Yeah.
up to like all these different states overnight. Suddenly, they found all these different votes that, yeah. So if but I also think too that people are more aware of that and are going to be watching that a little closer. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But the bottom line is everybody needs to go vote. You need to get out and you need to go freaking vote, because that is the only
Yeah.
chance. If you sit there and say my vote doesn't matter, doesn't, oh, I'm red, we're not going to change, like you're losing it for us. You are
Yeah.
losing it, because
Now, you
that's,
know what they need to do? They need to move to California, and we're going to infiltrate California. That's what we've got to start some sort of like campaign to
yeah.
infiltrate California. Could you imagine how bad the Democrats would shit if they lost California?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I told you, California was red at one point.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
And this isn't long, because my dad was like, he was red when he was younger because he is from here. And so, I mean, he's in his late 70s. So we're not talking a whole long time ago, when you're looking at the big picture. So yeah, it's not that it is impossible. I mean, I never in my life thought there would be a chance that Texas would turn blue, ever.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely afraid they're going to.
I thought it was going to this past time. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like really on the fence.
Yeah. And the fact that Arizona was blue, like, how these people aren't looking at this and going, oh shit, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know.
I've had people take offense when I've said I didn't think the election was legit. Like they're offended that I would even consider that, and they're not liberals. Like they're not even liberal, and they think I'm like questioning. I don't know, and I guess I am questioning the integrity, but I guess they look at it as I'm questioning like America's integrity, and they think I'm like hating on the country. I love America. Like I'm a very staunch like supporter of real America, like the Constitution. I'm for that. I'm the freedom aspect of things, but you have to have integrity in the election and these things. And me calling that out is not me saying that I'm against like what this country stands for.
No, the problem is those people are looking at the government as a representation of our country, and that's not what it
Yep.
is. We, the people, are the representation of this country. The government
Yep.
has proven that they're not for the people. Which is what our forefathers set this up. There's a reason why they did all this. There's a reason why they had the Constitution, because they came from, a overpowering government and knows that that's never going to work. And
Yeah.
we've let it grow out of control again. And people just look at the government like, oh, they're, their representation. If you're against the government, you're against your country. No, absolutely. Like that's so opposite, that you should not everybody here should want a smaller government. And again, when you
Yep.
have a conversation with people and explain what that means, people are like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I don't want them in my bed. I don't want them taking half my paycheck. Like they don't. The problem is most people don't even know their own politics.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Well,
what's unfortunate.
I don't know if it's as bad like where you're at, but here, one of the things that frustrates the crap out of me is we have people that their great grandparents voted Democrat and their grandparents voted Democrat and their parents voted Democrat. And so by God, they're going to vote Democrat. And like, you'll ask them about issues, like certain issues that would be very far on the left. And they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not for that at all. And then you'll tell them some of the things that the other side supports. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm for that. Like I'm with that. And then it's like, okay, well that's, Trump's running for that. Well, I would never vote for him. I hate him. And it's like, what are you doing? And they will vote Democrat until they die. And their bloodline is going to like vote Democrat until they die. And it's like, what are you doing?
They're not. They're voting based on emotion, based on things that don't matter, right? I don't like the way he looks. Yep. I don't like how he talks. It has nothing to do with what he's doing, any issues. It's none of that. But which is also really confusing. It's like, okay, if you didn't like how he talks or looks, why are you such a Biden supporter? Because I'll be the first to say I couldn't watch Trump speak because it was just like, it was pretty painful. But that's not what I was looking at. I didn't care what he said. I wanted to see what the question was, right? But how you can say you can't stand Trump because of how he talks or whatever, and then say you're cool with Biden because I can't. I mean, I don't even know what he's saying.
Oh Lord, so yeah.
You can't say for one and then the other be like, oh yeah, he's great. Like, there's no way you're actually, saying that with rational thought. So, but that's what it is. It's like, this is just what I'm told to do. This is what I've always done. There's no change. I'm not going to educate myself. I'm not going to actually look into what's going on in this country because we're fine. We're USA. Nobody's ever going to like come and take it or whatever, but it's like what Lincoln said, right? He was kind of half right, I think, that we were going to destroy ourselves. But the reason why we're destroying ourselves is because we're letting other people in that are contributing to that destruction. So,
yeah, I agree.
But that is how Americans will be taken down. And that's what these other countries knew. Like, you can't just go, we're not going to go full force, end up on their shores and let's fucking just fire every, piece of ammunition, whatever else at these guys and let's see who wins. That's not what's going to happen these days. It's going to be, we're going to infiltrate and we're going to take it from inside and people won't even know it's happening.
Yeah.
People don't.
I think that they're smart enough to know that just invading the soul would not be good. Right. I think that's one of the big things. Like they've realized that's not how they want to do this because I don't know what the gun owners are in the country, but it's a shitload of us in the US. And so, you want firepower. We do have the firepower. So, they're not going to come toe to toe on the soul. And so, like you said, and they've already, like we've talked about, they're destroying the ideology of the country. You can look at our youth. They are strongly influencing the youth. And, it's really a crazy thing. So, I guess the best takeaway on that is, one, parents, you need to be active in your kids' lives, for starters, and try to be aware of what is actually going on, but ask people that are in these industries and don't just get your shit from the news. Now, I've taken you past the 1.5 hour mark that I said we would probably shoot for, which is not surprising to me because it's always, we have great conversations. So I want to close on a good note, a cool one. We've been talking about these badass Chinese people trying to take over. Let's go into, you shared something that was really cool to me, and I've heard you talk about it, and it was your fitness world you're into now. Now, you put up this picture just recently, and I think at one time you told me or you shared, didn't you say you got up to what, like 250? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, and you share it like, I know a man should never ask a lady what she weighs, but you just shared and you were like, what, 129?
Yeah. Which
All right.
I never thought I'd see that number ever again in my lifetime. Yeah. So there's a
Well,
couple of different things. So I was, the reason why I share this stuff is because I know the struggles. I know the
yeah,
struggles. And like, it's funny because now, like people who meet me now, they think I've always been thin. So they just don't really think like I get it. And so I have to like pull out some of these pictures and like, holy shit, and it's like, no, I've
yeah,
never had the genetics where I could eat anything and be thin. I was the really gross pregnant girl who I was just fat. Like I wasn't the cute little belly and whatever. Like you couldn't even tell I was pregnant half the time, like because I was so big. Like I actually got a lady in Walmart. I was 9 months pregnant and I was getting some last minute stuff. And she was like, "Oh, you're getting, baby stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, it's for, I'm not," I said, "I'm 9 months pregnant." And she was like, "Oh, you are?" Like, she had
yeah.
no idea. I immediately thought was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
gosh.
like, I look back, like I don't even look like I'm pregnant." And then I walked away and I realized she just thought I was fat. So, yeah, so I get it. I understand it. So that's my motivation to share all this is that and I've always said a lot of my posts with everything, with shooting, with skydiving, all that stuff is like, if I can do it, trust like anybody can do this because I am no like special in anything. I'm very average in all of this stuff and I'm average physically, whatever. But yeah, the biggest change for me started with getting my hormones tested. And I really think I'm a huge advocate for making sure your hormones are where they're supposed to be. And I didn't know a lot about this until, honestly, I started uh, working with one of the Hunter 7 Foundation. We were talking about, we're actually talking about
Yeah,
suicide, and we are wondering if low testosterone had anything to do with that, because low testosterone can mimic a lot of these symptoms that people think they're like depressed or whatever. Because it, lowers your energy. It does make you feel like you're depressed. It makes you feel like you can't function. Like there's a lot of things that go into it. And so I talked to a good friend of mine. She's a mental health provider, and she's like, "Oh, the first thing I would do," she was in the military and worked with the Marines a lot. She's like, the first thing I did was test their hormones, because a lot of times it wasn't, what a lot of providers want to do is throw all these medications at them because they automatically assume that they're depressed or have all these mental health issues. And the medications throw them into this spiral of going down that suicidal path,
yeah,
because they
yeah,
never needed it in the first place. One, they never needed it in the first place. Two, no one's educating them on how to take it. So they're taking all these medications wrong or whatever. That's a whole nother topic for probably another day. But point being, I am a huge advocate for getting your hormones tested. The problem is like a lot of insurance won't cover it. And I asked some of the hormone specialists about that, and they're like, because if your hormones are balanced, you're usually very healthy. You don't have all these other
Oh,
problems.
yeah. They don't want you to be
Insurance companies
healthy.
don't like that.
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
healthcare system likes you to be sick, which goes along the lines of, and I'm going to throw this in there real fast, with these pharmaceutical companies. If you think they're actually looking for something to cure you with vaccine, you're wrong. That would put them out of business, right? They don't want
yeah,
you to be cured. So they come up with shit where you still need them. You keep needing them. Like,
yep.
come on, people. Like, anyway,
It's money,
um,
money.
it's all money. It's all freaking money. It's all money. Like, people need to understand that. So anyway, yes, insurance companies don't want you to be healthy. When you have your hormones all like in balance, a lot of the times you're on your path to being healthy without needing assistance with healthcare and
Yeah,
drugs and everything else. So yes, especially like, well, I would say over 40, we start losing a lot of that, but we're seeing a lot of these young guys and girls that are, especially like veterans or EMS or first responders that have like their testosterone's bottomed out, which is crazy at, early 30s, late 20s, to have these guys who like, aren't registering their testosterone, which makes me wonder where is that? Is it coming from, this what we do as a profession, or is it coming from our food supply? Like what's happening with all that? There's got to be a
yeah,
source. You have that many people that need that kind of help. But yes, so I had no testosterone. A lot of women don't even realize we're supposed to have testosterone. People automatically relate that to men. So like women are like, "Oh no, I don't want to turn into a man." And it's like, I don't think I look like a man, but No, it's just getting your levels. Obviously, I don't need as much as a man does, but I do need testosterone, and so does every other woman. So getting that in balance and in line. And a lot of doctors don't know that either, so they won't even test women for their testosterone when that is actually the biggest culprit for their symptoms.
Well,
So you
I
have to go
don't
to
think
that.
I knew. I didn't know until you shared that.
Yeah,
That like testosterone was something women needed. I
yeah.
mean, and like, what is a, you know, my wife she would have like headaches and different things, and she's gone and had her levels checked and stuff. And I don't know that they checked testosterone.
Probably not.
Is that,
Like if you go to a regular doctor, they probably won't if you're a female. And then even if you do, for example, the range for a woman is 15 to 75. A male is 300 to 1,000. Those are some big levels. And I've had
yeah,
men tell me that they've gone to their doctor, they've had their testosterone tested, and like, let's say they were 300 or 310. Their doctor is like, oh, well, you're in range, you're good. Well, no, because if you've been athletic all your life, or if you've, worked out a lot or whatever, you probably optimally were running in like 800. Now you're talking
yeah,
about a 500-point difference. That's a huge difference.
yeah,
So no, you're not okay. And that's where a hormone doctor or specialist in that field, he doesn't care about their range. He cares about where are you optimally? Where do so they're constantly following you. I get the pellets. So like for me, they started with one pellet, and then he was constantly checking on me, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Write down, blah, blah, blah. And then we checked the labs again and saw where I was. And then he, like, based off the labs, based off how I was feeling, he then decided, like, okay, you might need a little bit more. Because, for example, the pellets, they last for 4 months, but you have a peak and then you come down. And I felt when
yeah,
I first got it, I was like, oh my God, I felt amazing, like the first 4 or 5 weeks. And then I definitely felt the peak, and I felt when I came down. And so he was like,
yeah,
well, I don't want you to have that drop. So his goal was to have me actually higher than the range. So when I did drop, so, peak out higher, but when I dropped, I'm still at that higher end of that range. So I don't feel that
yeah,
complete letdown. So that's what a hormone specialist does. And I try to explain that with people because they want to go to their doctor because it's, insurance covers that or whatever. But I'm like, these general doctors don't understand replacement or hormone replacement. They're trying to fit, like they all do, or not all, but a lot of them try to fit you in this box, and check off all these little things, and they just
yeah.
not really thinking here. Um, so yeah, you need to go to a specialist that does that. But yeah, once I got that figured out, my energy levels I went from thinking like, okay, maybe I am depressed, which I've never really had to deal with ever, or I have cancer, like something's wrong with me, because I just knew it was so difficult to get out of bed. And I'm like, I've never really been like this. So what's going on? And then talking about like seeing all these younger people with testosterone issues, I'm like, what? I'm going to get mine checked and see what happens. And sure enough, I was like barely even registering. So I wasn't even in the range. So it was no brainer to do the replacement. And yeah, immediately felt all the energy back. I would work out. I remember like it really kicked in like at the third week, and I was working out. I think I was doing one of my crazy challenges. And so I was
Yeah.
intentionally trying to like, do a pretty long workout. But I remember I think I did like 2 hours, and I was like, I feel like nothing even, like I could just keep going. Like I'm not even
Yeah.
affected. I'm not even tired. So that was a huge like, wow, this is crazy. Um, and that got me sort of like rolling again, because I had really plateaued before that. And
Yeah.
then I started so the clinic that I work at, we have a weight loss. So I do aesthetics at the clinic, but we have a weight loss side of it. And we started a trial, which is it was a medication it's a GLP-1 medication, typically used for diabetics, but then they found that their patients were having like all kinds of like weight loss, which they were like, of course people
Yeah.
jump on that then, right? Like, wait, did we found something where people can, because it was like a big difference. And so they did a huge study on it to see, solely for weight loss. And sure enough, like people were average losing 20, 30
Dang.
pounds. And then they were following people for a year after to see like, okay, once they stopped, did they gain all the weight back like people typically do? And no, they were still either maintaining their weight after a year, or they were still losing. Because what it
Huh.
kind of did was, because it works on your pancreas, and it has to do with like your insulin and leptin and all that stuff. And it kind of, I guess what happened is it trained the body to, continue to operate that way. So
Yeah.
it's, not like a drastic, you know, doing a fad diet or something like that you'll just bounce back and like gain all the weight back once you stop doing that particular thing. So I tried it because we did a little trial at my clinic, and immediately, and I'm skeptical because I've literally tried everything. Everything. I am that person that new diet, I'll try it, 50 different trainers. I mean, whatever I could do. And I was like, we'll see if this works. And yeah, it's like, it's one shot a week. And I have to force myself to eat. That's never
Really?
happened. Yeah. I'm an eater. Like I order a pizza and I'm the one eating most, if not all of it. I can put
Yeah.
down a
Yeah.
double cheeseburger, no problem. Like I can eat. And so for the fact that I have to like remind myself to eat and force myself to eat is such a game changer. Because, and I don't have any, like I still, like last night I had a ice cream, I had chicken sandwich, I'm just not eating all of it because I can't,
Yeah.
and even when I want to, like I can't. In the first week I lost 10 pounds and I wanted to reward myself with a big old cheeseburger, and I ate a bite and I was like, I physically just can't eat this, which has never in my life happened to me before. Like I've never had a problem eating a cheeseburger. So yeah.
Have you had any issue like trying to, I guess on the flip side, if I were to think about that, do you have any issue like meeting, I guess, how much protein you would need or anything like that? Do you think anything like that?
Yeah. So I would say, cause I dropped 31 pounds since October.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Dang, since October?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I got the majority of that by December. So it happened. So I couldn't believe it. I would get on I bought 2 scales because I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way this scale's broken. Like there's no way. And so, yeah, I mean, it has been insane how fast it's come off. And yes, I do notice, and I think it's because of the speed of how fast I lost it. I have lost some muscle mass. So, but I was also doing a ton of cardio because of the challenges I was doing. So
yeah. Y'all need to follow her and see these freakish challenges that Nikki does.
And I don't want to like say that because then people are like, oh, you just work out a lot. I actually don't. Like I just do when I like have these stupid challenges because I'm so competitive. I don't want people to think like I'm in the gym, 2-3 hours a day, because that's not true at all. Like I don't even think I've worked out in the last 2 days. So I'm very
you're pretty consistent. I feel like you're pretty consistent. I mean, you're gonna work out every week.
Oh yeah, I work out every week, but it really hasn't been a lot. Like
Really?
it has. Yeah. And I mean, cause like, I'll just have my moments. I'll have moments where I do my spin class every single day. And then I have moments where like, I haven't been to spin in probably 2 weeks. And that has to do with like, I was traveling and whatever else. But like the difference is I'm not freaking out about it. I used to be like, oh my God, if I missed a workout, like I'm going to gain 15 pounds and oh my God, now I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm whatever. I missed a workout. Oh well,
Yeah.
Now what I want to concentrate on is weightlifting, because I know I've lost some muscle mass with it. And yes, I have like protein shakes that I'll down at night and like right now it's what, 1:17 my time. I haven't eaten. I've had coffee. That's it. And there is nothing like I'm not saying to do that at all, but that's how good this thing works, is that I just realized, because we're talking about it, like, oh, I haven't even eaten today yet. And this happens a lot. And sometimes it'll happen at 7:00 where I'm like, oh shit, I haven't eaten. So I'm trying to be more cognitive of trying to, eat breakfast, lunch, and then have protein shakes and whatever else at night. But it is such a game changer. I don't know why anyone who has like weight loss issues isn't on this thing. So yeah, it's crazy.
I'm wondering too, like, all right, is this something where, let's say a guy like started using this and he has slimmed down a good bit, but he's in that weird phase where he's wanting to bulk up a little bit more, but still be kind of leaned out. Can they would you take a lower dosage? I mean, or what about that?
Yeah, and there's different dosages that you can do. The thing is that I don't suggest it um for men especially. I don't, unless you have like just a bad eating problem and you're overweight because of your eating.
Yeah.
Um and if you are disciplined to if your goal is to gain more muscle mass, you're going to have to really be disciplined to make yourself eat. And it's so weird to
Yeah.
say it cuz like again, I've never had a problem eating. Like I just eat everything, just never. And even if I did like have a day where I didn't eat that much, like that I would make up for it by the next day. Like I can eat, I can put food away. Um,
Yeah.
but this really, it whatever that feedback is that says you're hungry, it blocks that. Like there's just, to forget to eat most of the day is bad. So you really would have to, if you're trying to lose weight, but also bulk up, and you're just trying to control your diet so you're eating the right things, let's say,
Yeah.
you would just have to be very disciplined on to eat because it's,
Hmm.
and you're just, and you almost get nauseous eating. It's almost like you're, full all the time. So when you do eat, it's like, so if you're on this program where you have to bulk and eat a certain amount of calories, which most people who are bulking, it's quite a few calories. Like you
Yeah.
would almost make yourself sick probably trying to eat all the food. So yeah.
So it's definitely, you would definitely want to gear it more like with the weight loss. I mean, that's going to be the goal with that. What did you say it's called?
It's a GLP-1. It works on the GLP-1 receptor. Um, I can't. There is a big brand name. I can't really say it because the owners of that brand are very like holding on to it because I think they know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you Google like GLP-1 and weight loss, you'll see a whole slew of information about it. So yeah, it's all the girls we did this trial, we're all like, who, like, what the heck just happened? Like, this is insane. Cause we're all in the same boat. We're in late 30s or early 40s or mid 40s, like I am. And just, it's really hard to lose weight at a certain point in your age. And
Yeah.
for all of us, it's the same story. It's struggling. You just hit this plateau and you just cannot get over it. And, it's like your metabolism just gives you the big finger or something. I don't know what's going on, but for this to work all of us, and we're talking all types of different body types and eating habits and whatever else. And for it to work on pretty much every single one of us is it's crazy. So I don't
It
know
is.
why. Well, I have started seeing ads from like different companies that are now doing it, but I'm surprised it's not bigger. And I don't know if that has to do with like the original manufacturers of this or what, but I did just find a group on Facebook that is a private group based on, people losing weight because of this particular thing. So, I'm going to go through and like read about what they're saying. But yeah, I think you're going to start hearing more about it because I've never seen it. I've never had anything work like this. And for me to be in 120,
Yeah.
this is my high school weight, like it's just never,
Yeah.
ever
Well,
I would ever
well,
get to that.
I feel like it's good that we talked about it here kind of towards the end because they've heard you. So at this point, people listen, they know you're not going to feed some bull crap.
Yeah.
Like, if
Exactly.
you say that this is something that works, like you're not just saying that for the hell of it. Well, that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's really cool because you'll see, I feel like you see people that they'll go up and down. And that's what's been awesome to see with you. I mean, you've gotten in shape and you've held it and you have, like you said, when I first met you, actually, when I had you on the podcast the first time, I think you told me then that you used to weigh 250 pounds. And I'm like, there is no freaking way. Like, I mean, just, hard for me to imagine. I mean, like, so it's, I know. That's what I mean, like it was really awesome. I mean, and it should be very inspiring, especially because, I mean, all the time I got buddies that their wives, like they have some kids and then, they they are unhappy with how they look for like the rest of their life. Their wives are, and they've almost, there's like this weird thing now where it's like almost accepted that once a woman has kids, her body is just toast, like, she'll never look good again. And, so like, it's inspiring to see these women, like, I feel like that are getting back into shape and they like the way they look. And like, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it is. But the thing too with this is like I have kept it, I have been on this weight loss journey for the 250 to now we're talking that was like 2010, 9, 10, whatever. I have gone up and down a lot. And like the pictures, my recent post, that was the end of 2019 and I was hovering around 170s and that was the year I retired from the military, which I went through, that typical transition funk or whatever, didn't really know my place. And so, put on some weight for sure. And, you don't have the rigors of the military, like coming down on you about your weight and whatever. So like a lot of us tend to gain weight once we're out because you're not worried about PRT scores and, passing your weight, whatever that they test you on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably gained a good 15 pounds that year. And those pictures, and I was like, man, do I want to post? I just found those yesterday on my other phone because I knew I was working with a trainer and she wanted me to take these pictures every week. And so I was like, I know I've got these pictures somewhere. And I found my old phone and they were on there. And I was looking at them like, holy crap, and then I took the pictures in the morning yesterday in the bathing suit and I put them side by side and I was like, wow, like that's huge. And I remember when I first took pictures, I knew I was overweight and I was like, oh, these aren't that great. But I remember going, well, it's not bad, like it's not terrible. And then I don't know, just seeing now, I'm like, what a difference. Like, because it's still, I know I've lost all this weight. I know I've lost 30 pounds, but it's hard for me to see that, I guess, when you're looking at yourself every day. Even though like clothes all fit better and I've gone down like 2 or 3, so I don't even know how many sizes, but to see that, the visual from like side to side and see an actual like change in my shape I don't really feel like I tried that hard. Like I have not been on a strict diet. Like I said, I eat ice cream all the time, I eat pizza. It really is about not eating as much. And I know that now because I'm definitely not eating as much. And even when I told myself and I was tracking calories, we all do that thing where we're tracking calories, but we forgot to put in the drink we had, or we forgot to put in the little snacks that we're like picking on all throughout the day. And that's just got to add up because I now know I'm definitely eating a lot less and it just started melting off.
Yeah.
It was just, so yeah, I just want to say there's hope. I am not this, even though at times I look like a crazy workout person, I'm really not that crazy. And I don't have any strict diet at all whatsoever. So, yeah.
Well, you've done awesome. I mean, like I said, it's a huge change and I mean, it should be very inspiring. I mean, I think too many people just settle, they just settle. They think they're like stuck where they're at. And that's what I wish they would see. Like, man, you don't have to. And I'm a believer in before and after pictures, or taking before pictures too, because like you said, I mean, we see ourselves every day. So, I mean, the change, like I fluctuate like largely. I was actually talking to people yesterday. Now I'm like the annoying guy that whenever I quit lifting weights, I just get skinny. Like I'm like, I just like shrink up into nothing. And, so I have to, and I eat a ton, like my metabolism must just be crazy. But I was telling people, I know. Yeah, I know. It's, that's what people hate me hearing me right now. But, like I was talking about like last summer, I had gotten up, I was weighing about 220 and, I really liked where I was at size wise, strength wise. And now we got into harvest. I got really busy. And I mean, I just quit lifting weights. Like I was like, I don't have time. I mean, which is bullshit. I mean, I had time if I really wanted to make time, but I was just like, I just don't feel like doing it. and now I'm sitting around like 206. So I mean, I'm like 14 or 15 pounds lighter, and I mean, my strength is nowhere where it was. So I mean, see, if I had a before and after picture now, it would depress me so much I would probably hit the weights really hard to try to get back. So, like, take the progress pictures. I do believe in that. But and I like what you're saying. Like, you be when I see these people that eat like freaking cardboard and like, nothing that tastes good, like that to me is not sustainable. And I mean, I guess there are some crazy folks that really do it, but like I like to eat, I like enjoyable foods. And I mean, so you can still do it as long as you do it to, kind of your amounts you need to have.
Yeah. And it's, and you can do it without this medication. It's just most people can't. Like
Yeah.
when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, or everyone around me is miserable because I'm just, you know what I mean? Like I'm that person when I'm hungry. And the fact that this has killed that hunger is like, it's just a game changer, because now I do. And what's funny too, is like when I do, yes, I eat the hamburgers and whatever else. I don't want people to think I eat that every day, but I feel like I also make kind of better choices just because I know when I'm not eating really for enjoyment because I'm not hungry. I'm eating because I know I need to eat, and I don't want to feel,
Yeah.
because you can feel terrible when you don't eat. Because the first 3 days I could not eat, and I felt like shit. I did.
Yeah.
And they tell you that's a side effect because you're tired, you're fatigued, and it really, I think it has to do with like not eating. And so, now I'm like kind of, a lot of times I'm eating because like I need to eat. I need to feel, I'm going to go do a workout and I can't do it on an empty stomach. So I'm going to eat something. And so it's like, oh, I'll have a protein shake, or I'll eat something on the healthier side. Just because it's kind of a fuel thing for me, instead of like, oh, I'm starving for something sweet or, carbs or whatever else. But yeah. But again, I still do. I'm not eating to be like, oh, I can't have any carbs. I can't have, whatever. Like I've never been a believer in eliminating food groups because I've failed every single time. Every time I've done it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would too. Yeah.
Sustainable. I might be able to do it for a couple of weeks, and then I'm just like, F this. This is like, no, fuck this. And then what do we all end up doing? We end up binging on the worst thing because that's what we've been, craving because we've eliminated that. So I am not, I'm really a believer in how much you're eating. And this is proving that, again, one, I was never counting my calories correctly. Because there have been times where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm only eating 1,500 calories. There's no way. Because I would have been losing weight, and I would maybe lose a couple of pounds, but that was it. I know, maybe one day I was only eating 1,500 calories, but then the next day I was making up for it somewhere. I made up for it somewhere in that week. So, where, you got to be honest about how much you're eating. And I don't think a lot of people are, because I'll hear it all the time, especially in the weight loss, is like, oh no, I'm eating great. I'm eating perfectly, and I still can't lose weight. And I'm like, you're not. I'm sure if I followed you around, like you're picking up something that you're not supposed to be eating, or you're not counting or something. So, yeah.
Oh, you just hit on something. You just hit on a hot button for me. It drives me nuts when I see people. It'll be like, I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day, but I can't lose weight. And it's like, that's physically impossible. If you are in a calorie deficit, you are gonna lose weight. Like it's not possible for your body can't produce weight out of nothing. Like it doesn't work that way. It drives me crazy when I see that.
And I know, because I was one of those people, and I know what they're doing is they're taking the one day that they did eat 1,200 calories and they're applying it to every other day. Because I was the same way.
Yeah.
Like all I ate was, salad and whatever else, and whatever. I don't understand what's happening. And it's like, yeah, but then I didn't count for that one where I said it was a cheat day or whatever, and it was just I ate everything in sight. Or I didn't count for that night where I had, whatever snack I pulled out of the pantry. Like people just aren't honest, and that's true. Again, you gotta be truthful with yourself. And I know this because I'm probably now at 12 to 1,500 a day, or if I did an average. I know there's days where I'm probably at 1,000, which I'm not recommending. I don't think that's healthy, but I am balancing it out because I know there are days where I'm eating more. So if you took an average over the week, I would say I'm probably around 1,500 calories. And it has just melted off of me. Like, I've never lost weight so fast. And again, I'm 45, so I'm not young and like have a, good metabolism. I've never lost weight this fast. I've never seen,
Yeah.
and to the point where I'm 4 months later and I'm still, I thought at some point I'm gonna be bouncing back. And yes, I'm still like doing the shot once a week. But I now have to get to a point, which I never thought I would have to do, to where, I probably should put some weight back on, because this is like, I've had so many comments of, you're too skinny, you're too tiny, which is like, are you talking to me? Like, who are you talking to? I've never heard that in like the last 2 decades of my life. So, yeah, I'm at the point where I need to kind of figure out like weaning off of it, or, lowering the dose
Yeah.
or whatever, because it's too much weight at this point. So, but yeah, if people are honest, if they actually were cutting calories, it would melt off of them. So, which is proven
Yeah.
with this medication. So yeah.
Well, I think it's awesome, Nikki. I mean, and I encourage people to go check it out, because it's pretty awesome to see the results. It really is. And where can they go see what you're doing?
So I put pretty much everything on Instagram, which is fly_girl_RN. And that's the majority. I'm on LinkedIn as well, under my name, but LinkedIn is like, that's a whole nother culture over there. And like, you can only post.
Yeah.
I don't know. People get weird. I actually did it before and after. I didn't have the bathing suit on, because I knew like, oh God, like don't put anything crazy. So I just had, I think, leggings and a tank top or something. And for the most part, it got really good comments and reviews. But there were a few people like, this isn't Facebook, or this isn't Instagram, and it's like, God forbid I'm, promoting something good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am on LinkedIn. I'm more selective of what I post over there, but I would say Instagram is where I like really put it all out there. Everything from weight loss to my opinion, to all the different things I'm doing. Yeah.
Are you shadow banned?
I don't know. So like, it's funny, and Instagram's so weird, because I'll have posts that I think are really cool. Like the one with the elk. So I killed the elk, and then we ate some of her for Super Bowl. And I put a side-by-side picture when I killed her, and then on the plate, and it said from field to plate. I'm like, this is a really cool post. And like, it got like 300 likes, I think, which I was like, well, this was a really cool post. And then I had another one before that, I think, where I was talking about 107 Foundation, and that barely got any likes, which I'm like, again, like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
I found if I put something that shows this is really sad, but if it shows like my boobs, right? So then I did this weight loss thing, and I'm in a bikini. I'm at like 4,000 likes or 3,500 or something crazy. And I was just like, so I don't know. I thought I was shadow banned with the last two posts, because I was like, I've never had this low of like engagement and likes and whatever else. So when I threw up the weight loss thing, when I wanted to obviously tell my story, but I also wanted to see the difference in likes. And yeah. So if I do anything in military uniform or my boobs are showing, it's like tons of engagement.
So either you're shadow banned, or everybody that follows you is a Neanderthal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I thought of it. Yeah, I thought of it. I think I saw you share that, but it says all my friends are shadow banned. I actually just got the shirt in. I think at McQueen, Classic McQueen, or whatever, they had this shirt, and I said, I got to get that. He is. Well, Nikki, thank you. It's been awesome having you back on the show, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it. And I mean, yeah, I don't even know why. Like before we started, we said, what kind of timeline. I'm pretty sure we did this exact thing on the other one, where it was like, we'll shoot for like an hour and a half, and we're at 2 hours and 33 minutes. So, but it's been fun. I've had a great time.
I have too. I still feel like we haven't even hit on like half the topics we were going to hit on. So
I know. Well, it just means we'll just have to have you back on again.
I was like, do you want to do a round 3?
Yeah, guys, y'all go follow Nikki. You won't regret it. Like I said, she does not hold back. I mean, on anything, and I really appreciate that. So y'all go follow her and check out the website, livingfullyloaded.com. Share this episode with your friends, and we appreciate you for tuning in.